Good morning, everybody. This is the Oskar Quentin Debate Show, where we talk with people on TikTok Live about politics and other related things. If you're watching after the fact on YouTube, there will be a pinned comment at the top of the comment section that'll tell you when the first call starts. And there's also timestamps for all the individual calls in the description, unless you're watching right after it got posted and I didn't get to it yet. Makes the episodes a little bit easier to navigate, because I know not everybody wants to listen to me yapping my head off to nobody when there isn't a caller. But these days, most of the time there's a caller. Generally, the queue stays pretty full. Anyway, what's the news today? Is Trump throwing away his attempts at squandering $1 billion, $1.776 billion for J6ers? Seems that way. Not every grift he does is necessarily going to work out, and that's a good thing. Is the YouTube stream working? Somebody tell me. Somebody let me know if the YouTube stream is working, because it should... It should be, but that's been the tech issue I've been dealing with lately. It keeps privating the stream for some reason. Where is my YouTube manager? So many windows. There we go. It says it's got viewers. Hello, Elvis Trump. He's here at the beginning of the show. How exciting. He's almost never here at the beginning of the show. Hello, Jazz. Hello, Chris. Hello, Kate. Good morning, Kate. Yes, and the YouTube stream is working, and it's so exciting. Every day I start the show, I see there's more and more people who show up in the YouTube chat, and they're like, "Oh my God, you're live on YouTube!" It's been a few days now, but yes, the show dual streams. Thanks for the heart me's, everybody sending their daily heart me on TikTok Live. All right, let's get the multi-guest request queue open and see if we can get a caller. Let's put this over here so it doesn't block the YouTube chat. There we go. That was the problem the last couple of days. I kept covering the YouTube chat with the multi-guest request queue from TikTok. There's 8 things I need to have open on this 55-inch TV in front of me to run the show, so forgive me as I navigate the changes I've made recently. Good morning, Jared. Good morning, Drive Me. Good morning... Oh my gosh, I can't read all these usernames. I have a disability for reading usernames, I think. I don't know why. My brain stops working when I go to do it. Makes me a bad host. I still wish I was in New Jersey. For people who aren't longtime viewers, I'm in Minneapolis, so I've done lots of out on the street protesting. I've been involved in a lot of the stuff that happens at the Whipple building here, which is the federal building in Minneapolis, out of which ICE operates. But the spotlight's on New Jersey right now in Delaney Hall, where there's a hunger strike happening. So there's 300 people there who are protesting the conditions, and I wish I was there. It's also close to home. I was trying to plan a trip to go back to New York this summer, this warm season. So I'm sad it wasn't in the works for it to happen this early in the year, because if I had the money lying around to make a trip to New York, I would have just gone at the moment I saw what was going on at Delaney Hall. But you should go follow some people on your various social media platforms that are at Delaney Hall. You can follow me on Instagram and see who I'm reposting to find some of those people. Kulgardy's using all caps in the chat. How about we cut that out? We don't allow it. The question that you're asking is a question I answer about once a day on this show. If you want to discuss it, you can hit the request button. It's down here to the right of the comment section, because there's no caller right now, so it's just that little blue and pink head down there. You can just click on that, and it'll start a conversation, a phone call with me, and you can ask that question instead of yelling it in the chat with all caps. Because if I don't get a caller quickly, generally what I do is I just start muting people in the chat who are oppositional, because in general, I allow opposition in the chat, but it's kind of a waste of the show's attention if we don't have an oppositional call, during the main part of the show. So if you're in the chat causing a ruckus while I don't have a caller, I will just mute you so that you are encouraged to call me. Hello, Canadian Vicky. I apologize I keep mixing you up with a Vic that comments on YouTube, which I was listening back to yesterday's episode, and I misgendered you, I'm pretty sure. Though I suppose I'm assuming your gender in the first place, but I appreciate you, Canadian Vicky. That's the bottom line. I feel guilty taking a sip of my coffee when there isn't a caller, because it makes their dead air. But Alex is hopefully going to rescue us from the dead air. We're going to start the call, as we always do, by asking Alex, how old are you? Oh, I didn't time it well. He's not connected yet. There he is. How old are you, Alex?
27.
Are you a Trump supporter?
No.
Okay, I'll give you 10 seconds before I kick you. What's up?
Where is he?
Okay, I didn't give him 10 seconds because he didn't answer. Moving along, we are just looking for oppositional calls of some kind. That doesn't necessarily mean a Trump supporter. Sometimes there's people who don't support Trump anymore, and that can be a valuable conversation if we still disagree about stuff. But for the most part, for the first 90 minutes of the show, from 10 a.m. Central Standard Time to 11:30 a.m. Central Standard Time, I try to keep it to debate calls because that's really the purpose of the show, and that's why most of the viewers are here. After that, it's kind of friendly hour. We do whatever we want. Sometimes I take out my guitar and sing some songs. All that stuff that's terrible for the viewership. Before I invite our next caller in, okay, Canadian Vicky says, I'm the same Vicky, I just changed my handle. Good to know. I was mixing it up all along. And thank you very much for the super chat on YouTube. I appreciate that. Because this show is run on donations. The ad money is a little bit of it. But for the most part, the reason I was able to quit my job and do this show full time is because people send me donations. So link tree in the bio for that type of stuff, or you can use the in-platform options if you want. But we're going to talk to ABXUD. And hopefully this will be our first debate call of the day. ABXUD, what's your, how old are you and what do you want me to call you?
You could just say AB. I just wanted to get on here real quick and...
I gotta ask how old are you, before I let you say anything else, I gotta check how old you are.
I'm 24.
Okay.
I just don't understand how people still support the man at this point.
Yeah, I mean, I'm gonna let you go for agreeing with me, but like fundamentally, one of the mission statements of the show is to understand the answer to that question, which is why when people say yes, I'm a Trump supporter, I just say why, just why. And, you know, sometimes we get interesting answers. Sometimes we get less interesting answers. Sometimes we find that they don't really have an answer, which is always interesting. But we're going to talk to NYX Void 4, NYX _Void _ 4. How old are you?
I'm 20.
20. Do you support Trump?
Yeah, I do at the moment. I am looking very much forward into the big event that's happening. Now, before you ask why do I bring that up, it's because... it's one of the reasons I support him.
I don't know what event you're talking about.
You know, the big event that's happening on Trump's birthday, the UFC event.
Oh, yeah, sure. The birthday party thing for the USA, yeah.
Yeah, and it's the 250th anniversary that they're making up. But I say that I support him because I'm expecting a lot of Americans to invest in Donald Trump's crypto because it's tied by the US dollar.
So... you're a single issue voter where your single issue is that you want Trump's crypto schemes to succeed in such a way that you and other people get to benefit. Am I understanding correctly?
Yeah, that's correct.
He left. I don't know. I don't think it was a serious call. We'll talk to Brady. Will Brady be a serious call? We shall see. Sometimes it's a little slow going getting somebody who actually stands on business to get on the line. Brady, how old are you?
I'm 20.
Are you a Trump supporter?
No, I just wanted to say happy birthday, Daniel.
Happy birthday, Daniel. I hope you had a wonderful birthday. Whoever you are, Daniel. Seriously, I hope it's awesome. I hope, however, I like to be lazy on my birthday. When it's my birthday, my friends know that I don't really want like a big show for me. I just want to not have to walk over to the bar to get a drink. I just want to have to not get out of my chair to go get more chips. I just like being... I'm not a very lazy person. I'm kind of up on my feet all the time. I run like a real chaotic, like fast and loose life. And on my birthday, I like to sit on my ass. So I hope that Daniel is sitting on his ass, if that's what he likes doing on his birthday. Because fundamentally, it's like... I'm just yammering because there's nobody in the request queue. But I was listening to yesterday's episode of the day before that I was editing. And it was yesterday. It was our caller who took the whole show yesterday. We're talking about the golden rule, and I take such issue with the golden rule. And I chose not to pick on it yesterday because it was such a productive conversation. It might have derailed things for me to have this accusatorial tone about something that a lot of people consider very nice. The golden rule: treat others the way you want to be treated. But I've always thought that the golden rule was kind of bullshit. Platinum rule is where it's at. Treat others the way they want to be treated. Because I don't know. I don't necessarily want. I'm weird. I have some peculiar opinions about how people should treat me. So I don't go around treating everybody the way I would want to be treated in my perfect world. There's an issue of consent there, isn't there? But yeah, you should treat other people the way that they want to be treated. And that was on my mind yesterday because I was listening to that call, and it's one of the things that gets down to the rub of like old-fashioned like conservative values in America, American family values, which is things like the golden rule. But the golden rule is so egocentric, you know? Treat others the way you want to be treated. That's not good advice to give to a homophobe, because the homophobe cannot relate to the experience of the homosexual in such a way that following the rule, treat others the way you would want to be treated, will yield any good outcome. It's treat others the way that they should be treated, as long as it's not unreasonable for you to have to do so. And then we could argue about whether or not it's reasonable to, you know, use somebody's preferred pronoun or whatever, if we're going to talk about trans issues or something like that. Yeah, platinum rule. Platinum rule is where it's at. But I don't know. People get offended because Jesus was all about the golden rule. So if you want to come up with a rule that's better than that, you think you're better than Jesus. But I'm not religious, so I don't get offended in those ways. How's the chat doing? Nobody's calling in. What's today? Tuesday? Man, maybe everybody's at school. We got 200 people watching, and none of them are people who want to debate with me about something. Which it's interesting when the calls dry up early. I find that like the frequency of calls against the like view count hasn't been consistent. I feel like a lot of the regular callers are avoiding me. I wonder why. We're gonna talk to Johannes. I don't know. Maybe he can tell me how to pronounce it after he tells me how old he is. How old are you?
I'm 42.
Do you support Trump?
No, so you can kick me. I just wanted to say...
I'll give you 10 seconds.
Thanks. Going back like 2 days ago, you had a call from somebody who said that ICE was super effective. They found like, I don't know, 300,000 kids or whatever.
Mm-hmm. I remember the claim.
Even if that was true, which it probably isn't. I'm from Sweden, by the way, so sorry for my English.
No worries.
Thanks. Even if that was true... what if you had spent all those money that they spend on ICE on instead, you know, whatever detectives you regularly have for those kind of things? So this connects to a larger issue about ceteris paribus, or all other things kept equal, that you sometimes raise. So I want to chat about this, but of course it's not the perfect time for now, so maybe later.
Well, so I'll kick you just because, like I say, sometimes it is a little bit bad for the live stream to have friendlies up this early. But you are welcome to call back in about an hour and 15 minutes. After 11:30, we have friendly calls. But to address your question and your concern, it's something I think I raised with that caller, which is that if you're concerned, and I bring this up all the time when people talk about the good things that ICE are doing, is that if you want ICE to be catching, violent, dangerous criminals, there are just better ways to catch violent, dangerous criminals than to send a bunch of untrained, mostly poorly trained immigration officers after immigrants and then hope some of the immigrants are criminals. That's just not a sensible strategy for turning dollars into convictions if you're wanting to protect the safety of children or women or something. You should just go after what actually will affect those specific outcomes without having to middleman the immigration system or the immigration enforcement system. And that's not just for missing kids. That's not just for rape victims. It's just crime in general, right? Like if we said that people who've committed the misdemeanor of illegal entry, if we put them in the category of everybody else who's committed a misdemeanor, people who speed on the highway or whatever low-level, non-violent misdemeanors a person might have, and then we ball the actual dangerous criminals in with the rest of the felons, they'll find themselves in such good company as people like Donald Trump, by the way, but they'll also have the focus of law enforcement that are focused on catching serious crimes. So, there's a reason why even when all these substances were illegal everywhere, a homicide detective doesn't care that there's a smoking apparatus sitting on your coffee table. They will pay it no mind because they do not want people to be concerned about getting caught for miscellaneous bullshit like that in such a way that it prevents them from cooperating with investigators of serious crimes. So if immigration and custom enforcement are the people who are responsible for enforcing serious crimes, suddenly there's this enormous chunk of the population, not white people, who are terrified, reasonably so, of engaging with these people who are supposed to be doing this good law enforcement effort because they have a track record of violence and civil rights violations. That's just not good for catching murderers. It's not good for catching rapists. It's not good for catching fraudsters. All these things that the Republicans are allegedly concerned about, even though there's definitely a rapist and a fraudster running the White House. We could argue he's a murderer too. I mean, Pete Hegseth has to be considered a murderer, right? He's a war criminal. Those double taps, the strikes on the boats in the Caribbean and the Pacific, like these are extrajudicial executions without due process. These are internationally recognized as war crimes, which is like a higher level than basic murder. But like, yeah, murderers, rapists, fraudsters, I'd love to catch more of those. I don't think ICE is the way. And nor do I think electing a president who is himself some of those things is the way. But that's the echo chamber talking point for me, just sitting here yelling into the void while I wait for a caller. It's been a very, very long time since I've made it 15 minutes into the show without like an actual debate. So I don't know. Maybe today's a friendly episode. That'd be kind of fun. I have been planning doing some like not this show streams because I'm in such a pattern of doing this show 10 to 12 Central Standard Time every single day that people expect it, and it's like very disruptive of the growth of my accounts and stuff if I like do something other than this, even if it's one of the days I go out and protest in person, which that's always going to take precedence when there's something important for me to go do here in Minneapolis. We'll always do that instead of running the show. But instead of having days where I like do a different show instead of this show, I think my plan is to have certain days where I do an evening show that isn't this show. This show is very focused on getting people to call in and have oppositional debates with me. Jen in the chat's reminding me I should probably do those streams on the alt accounts. Oskar Quentin 2 and Oskar Quentin Music on TikTok are the two alt accounts, which you should go follow, by the way, if you're watching this, so that you can find where I'm live streaming when I inevitably get banned on this account. But yeah, it'd be good for the health of those accounts if I were to get some live streaming clout with the algorithm on there doing that. But I want to do like FAQ live streams and stuff. I've been thinking of doing FAQ polls on like Instagram and YouTube just to... I'm getting to the point where my fan mail is a little hard to keep up with, so my apologies to everybody, because I know I have like side chats I like having with people who enjoy the show and enjoy the content I'm making, but I really am starting to get overwhelmed by my inbox on Instagram, which is a good problem. I just feel a little guilty about it, and I just... I want to gather up some of the frequently asked questions so I can say, hey, if you're like curious about these things that a lot of fans have been curious about me, then there'll be a place to direct people. Maybe I do one of those once a month just to update people on what's going on. Answer some of those personal questions about my life that people ask that aren't really this show isn't really the place for. OrangeLazarus, who, if I'm remembering correctly, this caller is not a Trump supporter anymore, but he's a libertarian or something. There's some catastrophic way we disagree. Am I remembering you correctly, OrangeLazarus? I'm sure I'll remember when I hear your voice.
Yeah, Marxist-Leninist.
Only because I don't have another caller. We can focus on this for a little. Maybe this will be another Marxist-Leninist episode. How are you doing? And remind me how old you are.
I'm 30. I'm doing fine.
Good. Okay. Where do you want to begin today?
I think the most pressing thing with people like you that I find the most, the best conversation is that I think flat out reject your political strategy. I think that for the most part, you've been distracted by what is, for all intents and purposes, political theater. And I find it completely ineffective and that is seeking any sort of relief from within American politics, I think is naive.
I appreciate that being your approach, because I get in trouble with people with your belief systems or other just like farther left than me positions when I'm really apathetic towards individual discussions about things like Marxist ideology, and I've even gone and like done some of my Googling to refresh some of the vocabulary terms I failed on the last time that you and I talked, because we
don't need to do like a theory thing. Like it doesn't even need theory.
Well, right. So I really appreciate. I'm basically saying, without even getting into all the individual theory, what I'll say about the theory is that I think that in terms of the way that you and I want society to function, in terms of fairness and what people get for their labor and how life works, I really do think that I mostly agree with the Marxists ethically. I think we want a really similar thing like 100 years from now. I think the disagreement is about a practical way to get there, and I just consider what's happened. Here's my analogy that I've been using. The house is on fire. I'm saying there's a huge raging inferno in the living room. There's still people in the house. There's going to be deaths. This is really bad. And my accusation of your position is, well, okay, look, I get that you have a better floor plan for the next house that we build, but please help me get the fucking fire extinguisher. I've got the hose. There's people dying. Like, there's an emergency happening. Can we put the fucking fire out and then maybe spend some of our free time after the fire's out assessing what's a better floor plan for the next house we build, and maybe a plan to budget that and get it built? The analogy here is practically how can we accomplish those sorts of outcomes in American politics? Because right now, we're not going to achieve Marxism in the midterms, but we might achieve a defeat of Trump, who's doing some very seriously bad things to some people. That's the fire.
Well, you're going to achieve a defeat of Trump, but what good is that going to be when power is simply handed to the Democratic Party?
Well, I don't think it's a given in the way that you just asserted that it is, because if it's a given, then that defeats my entire purpose, and you're right. If it's a given that Trump is going to be defeated, then there's no point in focusing on it.
It's highly likely.
You're saying the fire is going to burn itself out, and there's not going to be significant harm, even if I don't get that fire extinguisher, even if I don't get that fire hose. And I don't think is accurate.
You're exchanging you're exchanging one fire for a flood. Basically, it's all the same. The mechanisms that have
that's one of the other areas I really push back. I just don't think that majority Democratic control in this country is as bad as the Trump administration. I think that assertion is fucking nonsense.
Well, I'll give you an example of how they're at least arguably equal. When Obama was elected, he bailed out the banks. I think this is one of the most catastrophic and outright corrupt maneuvers by a kind of Democrat majority, the so-called opposition party, the so-called party of the working class, that has basically ever been conducted, and we still face the ramifications of this to this day.
I don't think that bailing out the banks was the problem. I think it was not incarcerating the people who were responsible for the financial crash. I do think that there's credence to
also that, yes.
Well, I mean, we bailed out the airlines during COVID because the airlines are so fucking important that, they are too big to fail. It's just a net good for society.
But was the architect of, there was no architect of COVID that purposely defrauded the American people that we give undue power at the level of finance.
And that's exactly why I just said that we should have held those people accountable. But I do think it was reasonable to save the banks because the banks are just so necessary to the functioning of the American economy. We should have incarcerated some people. More people should have been ousted. There should have been consequences for the individuals who had done things wrong. I just recognize that when you have private organizations that are that important, which I don't think they should be that important, things that are that important should be publicized.
What do you mean they're that important? I think you're confusing two things, host. I think you're confusing confusing the importance of having a financial system with that this financial system inherently needs to be privatized.
What I just said is that I would prefer it not be privatized, but the matter of fact is that it is. So in a given year where a president has to deal with what's on their plate, I don't blame them for not letting that system completely fail because that would cause undue suffering. It's a separate issue that they didn't hold the right people accountable.
Why not just nationalize the assets and repurpose the employees to be civil servants?
I mean, I think that I just a second ago said that I think that those sorts of systems that are that important to the American people, to the functioning of society, should be publicized. We publicize the fire department. We publicize policing. People like me are urging people to stop privatizing prisons because that's bad. There's a huge number of domains in which I think that a public system would be better than a private system. But
nothing is more important than the financial system, though. Nothing.
I didn't say that.
No, I'm saying that. I'm saying that finance capitalism stands basically atop of the entire Western world.
You interrupted me when I was getting to my point, which is that just because I want there to be a public system for something doesn't mean that we should let a private system fail regardless of how much suffering that's going to cause.
Well, the private systems did fail, and then we were in charge of reconstructing these institutions.
They did fail, I'll update my statement. They did fail, and I've said already in this call we should have held the people responsible for them failing accountable. what we should.
I agree with that.
But so instead of saying that we shouldn't have let them fail, they did fail. We shouldn't have let them stop functioning, though. That's what bailing them out did. It prevented them from ceasing to function, because if they ceased to function, that would be very, very bad for the American people. And that's putting the fire out. We can talk about a better system, but coming up with a better system isn't always the fastest way out of an emergency that's caused by the current system being bad.
Why would the financial system cease to function just by creating a national financial service industry?
Well, that's replacing the system that exists.
Just keep the structure more or less intact, so like JP Morgan, Citigroup, or whatever. But those are national now. Those are owned by the people.
Well, how do you think that Americans would respond to the government snatching up private industry? Like, you have to have a politically pragmatic approach to accomplishing that.
Do you think they would support it more than giving taxpayer dollars to bail them out and to have those taxpayer dollars be recycled through this very same financial system in the form of bailouts and stock buybacks? I think the American people would rather have had the houses that they were defrauded into buying and be made good of, and have, yes, a national financial system that is at least accountable to the public good as opposed to the private.
We're arguing for the same outcome, but your argument is that the midterms are stupid and unimportant. Am I mistaken?
No, I'm saying this, that you're making, well, in regards to the bank, you are making the argument that to nationalize the bank would have halted the process of finance capitalism. I'm saying you transfer the ownership of finance capital to the public.
Do you think it was a tool in Obama's toolbox to say, instead of bailing them out, we're just going to take them and make them government entities? Like, it doesn't.
He absolutely could have done that. Yes.
I don't think that would have worked. I think that would have caused a civil war. I don't think I think half of America have a political position that makes that sort of power grab by the government completely untenable, and it's not even my side.
How is it a power grab as opposed to
the banks have immense power? The banks have immense power in this country, and the people.
So it would be class war. It would be the
it would be Republicans upset that the government is taking private ownership away from people, and that would be a hugely disruptive issue that I think you're not recognizing would be an emergency in this country.
As opposed to them losing their houses and these very same financial parasites.
You and I agree about the outcome we want. When I am pointing out,
I don't think it's as big of a messaging issue as you think.
Again, you're just turning back to like arguing the outcome when I agree with you about the outcome that we want. I'm just saying that no, Obama could not have just taken the banks and made them government entities. That would have caused a bigger event than January 6th, a bigger event than the Black Lives Matter protests. If the government said that corporate elite in America, the finance bros, have fucked up so much that we're just going to take all their hard work away and make it a government project, I agree with you that the outcome of that would be
hard work of defrauding the American public.
I'm playing devil's advocate for the people who would be upset about that, and that is so many people that your solution is politically non-pragmatic. I disagree with those people.
I think you're too young to understand the vitriol and anger.
How old do you suppose I am?
In your 20s.
Care to wager a guess?
27.
How old are you?
38.
I'm 30. I'm in my 30s. I'm a little older than you thought I was. But I just don't really respect that you say I'm like too young to get it when, I don't know. I feel like I'm making a good case.
Well, what were you, 10 during the major crisis?
Yeah, sure.
So how do you know? Like, it's very hard
school,
to
13 or 14?
to understand. Yeah, so it's harder to understand.
I don't know if you want to instead of arguing with the things I'm saying, if you're going to make an ad hominem attack and argue who I am and my experience, I could just start throwing details at you. Like my father was a stockbroker, and he was really upset about it. So I got to sit on the couch with my dad while the headlines were coming out about what was happening in 2008, and I had like a super close ear to the ground for somebody of my age. We could sit and argue that, but it just doesn't actually make a difference to anything I have to say about this. And
yeah, we don't need to go into nitpicking. The point is
no, I'm going to call it here.
Well, hold on.
I'll give you another minute,
The Democrat Party is supermajority, and ultimately, when push comes to shove, did they back the working class or did they back the ruling class? I think the bailout of the banks shows that beyond a shadow of a doubt that they backed the ruling class.
I don't need to respond to that. I've already given my position on it in this call.
Okay, that's fine. You can give your position on it. I'm just saying, like, you're saying, okay, we're going to swap out the Republicans for the Democrats. I'm saying that they have a track record of acting as controlled opposition.
Here's my bottom line on this. You have a greater chance of getting what you want from politics in America if the Democrats are in control, because if the Republicans are in control, people like me and all my buddies that care about all the people who are being harmed by Republican policies right now will have our attention available to work on progress in the way that you want, to get to some of the things you want. We can all be on the same team again after the fire's out, but you're sowing division by saying that the fire's not important.
No, I'm saying that the principal contradiction is that the ownership of all of the productive forces in society are held by a cartel of private banks and monopoly capital. This is bipartisan
and all that's
agreement.
Bad, and until everybody who's in this house is like not running around like chickens with their heads cut off because there's a fire, we're just not going to get the unity that we need to address that bigger, more systemic, institutionalized problem.
You're basically treated, to use your analogy of the fire, it's like if someone is spraying if someone is outside of your house, lighting it on fire with what's called a flamethrower, you are simply just putting water on the things in the house that are on fire. I'm saying
no. I don't accept the way that you're changing my analogy, because in your analogy you're making the fire what the Democrats are doing as well, and that's just not accurate to what I'm saying. Because the Democrats
are the Democrats not controlled by finance capital as well?
There's so many bad things for me to sit and talk about the Democrats. You're right about a lot of this stuff, but the Democrats just aren't trying to take people's constitutional rights away.
Yes, they are.
I'm gonna move on, dude.
W for me.
In what way? Before you go, in what way are the Democrats taking away people's constitutional rights?
Did the Democrats not fully support all of the intelligence apparatus, the NSA, unconstitutional wars, for example, in Libya?
Okay, there's a bunch of stuff that we don't like that both parties are doing. There's a significant number of things that the Republicans are doing, and I'm saying that set of things is an emergency. That's a fire that needs to be put out.
I am saying that the emergency...
It is so disrespectful to all the people being... It is so disrespectful... Before I kick you, I'm going to say this, which is that it is so disrespectful to all the people who are being so seriously harmed. You're exercising your privilege by not giving a shit about all the people who are so directly being harmed by the fact that the Republicans have control right now.
You are kicking the can down the road, and you are ignorant of the fact that both parties serve the same donor class, ruling class interests, and they are ultimately top to bottom corrupt. You are simply kicking the can down the road. I think it is a completely neutered political strategy that has no relevance, and you see it even now with the more popular.
I don't think there's anything that will show you that I'm right and you're wrong until we have a conversation in 3 to 5 years.
You can, good luck with Gavin Newsom or whatever.
I don't like Gavin Newsom at all. Have a nice day. We're going to talk to septicalad after I remind everybody that this show runs on donations. You can go to Linktree in my bio and help out if you want me to, keep being able to do this. Because right now it's going great. Quit my job, doing this full time, but, got to keep it going. I'm going to skip septicalad just because he's had a lot of airtime lately, so I do see you, and I do like having you on the show, but we're going to talk to AWE Position. I think I'm reading that username correctly. How old are you? Hello? Hello? Nope, we're going to talk to Zach. I'm going to see if Zach is present and of age and not a Marxist, because I'm just not interested in discussing Marxism. The midterms are in November, and then the house is on fire. Ugh. Anyway. We'll talk about Marxism. I'll spend a lot more time talking about Marxism after the midterms if we win both houses. Okay, that's both chambers of Congress, I mean to say. But until such a time, it's not really what the show is about. Don't like capitalism though. Just like willing to deal with the fact that we live in a capitalist society for now. Let's see. I'm going to disconnect this guy because he's not connecting. Scott. And then we got 2 more regulars in the queue. So one of them will be the conversation if it's not Scott. Scott, how old are you?
62 and a half.
62 and a half. I am 30 and, I don't know, 8/10 or something. Anyway, you're a Trump supporter?
Right, so you're like half.
Yeah, just about, almost.
But anyways, so I see your flag there. Minnesota can do whatever it wants to do. In 2008, the rest of the country was crashing. Minneapolis was building. It wasn't happening anywhere else, strangely, right? 3M, Minnesota mining, manufacturing, was still working. It ain't working now. Since St. Floyd, it's broke. You probably don't know it, but it's broke. So the idea, well, Minnesota's broke. The idea that, communism, tell me what the successful communist, model country is. China?
Why would I do that? I don't support communism.
Oh, I thought you said you did.
No, the previous caller does. I was arguing that while me and the communists
he was not communist. Come on.
You said he was a Marxist.
Seriously? Well, I agreed with most of what he said.
I agree with those sorts of callers in terms of how I want society to be like if I was able to design a new society from the ground up for the planet Earth. I believe in politically practical approaches to the problems right in front of us, and I don't think that dismantling capitalism and using Marxism or something instead is important right now in terms of the messaging that needs to go out to people in the world. We're so biffing it on civil rights in this country that trying to bite off more than we can chew in that way is just not productive, is my position. I care about the sorts of things we can affect in the midterm.
Well, I'll tell you one thing. Unity, which everybody wants, it won't come from the democratic values because they're broken too.
I mean, yeah, there's a lot of, are you talking about establishment Democrats, or do you just mean the left in general? Because I agree that establishment Democrats have been totally biffing it on messaging.
Well, who do you've got your AOCs and then what? You've got your establishment? Is that what you're trying to say?
Yeah, I wouldn't consider AOC an establishment Democrat. And I politically align in terms of actual political orientation with politicians that exist as opposed to just my philosophical ideals. I consider myself a democratic socialist in the same way as somebody like AOC or Bernie Sanders that I wouldn't consider establishment.
Right, but we all know that socialism eventually turns into communism. Communism eventually fails. This is the historical track record of that.
I recognize those pragmatic difficulties with asserting that those systems are the way to go, which is why I offer a much more pragmatic, cautious, realistic approach to the problems in front of us. So that's why I don't argue for any sort of pure socialism. And the type of democratic socialism that I argue for, it's so frustrating when these things come up on the show, because depending on who you're talking to, the line between liberal and leftist, or the line between social democrat and democratic socialist, which guess what, everybody, there are some people who believe those to be so different things that you're a complete fool if you don't know the difference. I do know the difference that those people mean, but it's not the difference that everybody means. So it's very messy to talk about all this stuff, because when Bernie Sanders calls himself a democratic socialist, when I do that, when AOC does that, the Philbros say, no, you're not, you're a social democrat. Most people don't even know the difference, and it just goes down this rabbit hole of philosophical definitions. I'd much rather actually talk about who we should vote for, what policies are good for the country, and where I want the country to go in the next 5 to 10 years as we implement those policies. I can speak practically about what I want, but I'm not going to please. There's no approach I can take to labeling myself that will make everybody happy. I've learned that thoroughly, particularly over the last month or so.
First of all, I've learned in my 62 years not to ever label myself. Okay, there's two labels, right? I'll tell you what they are. There's win and lose. Okay, those are the two camps you can be in.
Gross.
And I don't want to be first loser either, right? There's win and there's lose. So in life, right? In the wolf pack, you have to be the winner, right? So however it is that you get there, you gotta get there, right?
Okay. And I just gave a long spiel about how I am actually focused with winning seats in elections affecting change in the country. So, like, I understand that. I'm less of a douche about it than you are. But what's your point?
So, okay, why do you think Democrats are going to win?
Because what Trump is doing is so very unpopular. I actually am concerned that we're not going to win because the Republicans see that what they're doing is so unpopular that they're trying to do illegal and unconstitutional, un-American, authoritarian things to prevent the midterms from being free and fair. So I'm very worried about the outcome of the midterms. Again, you're just kind of wrong about what my position on this stuff is.
Well, okay, so I agree. If Trump doesn't get his head out of his ass, they're going to lose, right? But there is still time. And, you know, he's done exactly the opposite of what he said he was going to do. There are a number of us out there kind of pissed off about it. There's a number of other people who are blind followers. But, you know, I go to the theory of lesser of two evils, right? And he was the lesser of two evils, for sure. So
is that what we're going to argue? Like, I feel like this whole call has just been you having a hard time pinning down what my political position is, even when you said in this conversation that I shouldn't label myself.
I can see from your flag. You've already labeled yourself.
My flag is the state flag of the state that I live in, and it says on it "fuck ICE" because I think that's a good thing to say because they do a bunch of really bad shit. And you think that my entire political identity is wrapped up in that, and you're the one telling me not to label yourself? You're being ridiculous, dude.
Well, okay, first of all, you know, you're using some profanity to post your position.
I'm an adult. I'm allowed to say the fuck word. No, get over yourself if you're upset about an adult using the fuck word to describe one of his political positions. Like, there are people dying and you're worried about a 4-letter word? Like, grow the fuck up, dude.
Who's dying?
Alex Preddy.
Explain your comment there. Who?
Alex Preddy died.
For being a dumbass.
I know you.
So did the other
I disagree on that.
The other lesbian bitch, dumbass. I mean, okay. There's
true or false.
You think that was smart what they did?
Hello. I know that you know that we disagree on these things, but true or false, people are dying.
People die every day. There's
non-answer. You're running for office. Like what is that nonsense?
There's a why you die, right? And if you're in the military and you choose to die, I'm sure it's pretty easy.
No, you're getting removed for what? Let's see. Removed for harassment and bullying. Yeah, dude, next time you want to come up and disparage the dead, you're going to have to be more creative with your choice of words, because I can take it, but the TikTok auto mod system can't. So you're banned for the day. I'll see you tomorrow. If you have a spine. We're going to talk to, oh, God, RC is here. Ugh. All right, regular callers. Septicalad, el.chico.tech.edu, RC. We'll maybe get to you, but I got 2 new names in the chat, so I'm going to go to them first. Sudeep, Sudeep. Why don't you tell us how old you are? Hello?
Hey, I am 27.
27. I'm a little hesitant. What year were you born?
Sorry, that cut out. What did you say?
What year were you born?
1999.
Okay, I believe you. You support Trump?
No, I do not.
All right, I'm going to move on to somebody who does. We're going to talk to PDEEZ, PDs, something like that, and we're going to see if we get a good debate going. Hello.
Hey, what's up, dude? I just think that you're a total incel. You should brush your teeth. You got a big ass, fucking nasty ass room you haven't cleaned in fucking years. You should probably get off the live and go do something productive with your life.
Anything else? No, nothing else from that guy. Okay, we're going to talk to Septicalad, and we're going to see what he wants to talk about today. I can't remember which one he is, though. How old are you?
Yeah, I'm 40.
40. Remind me what we talked about last. I know we talked at length recently, but I'm having trouble placing which caller you were.
I think our last discussion was about I guess theory of education, childhood development, which would be better, like tactile development versus academic.
Oh yeah, you're the guy who is famous on Instagram now for arguing that American politics would be better if we taught children plumbing instead of civics.
How did that one go viral? Oh yeah. All right.
I mean, hot take. It's a hot take.
Did you said you think illegal immigrants, though, are a net benefit to the U.S.?
Yes, they are, as a matter of fact.
So then would they be a net benefit to their home countries?
Not relevant.
That's not relevant?
No.
You don't want their countries to succeed?
I want everybody on Earth to be happy and healthy, but I operate within the domain over which I have understanding and control, and that is the American political system.
Well, within the American political system, do we have control over who is allowed to stay and who's allowed to go?
We do.
So it would still be within your domain to help those other countries by...
Yes, and within that domain, it would be better for America if we didn't. And those people don't want us to, so I'm going to respect what they want also and say, in addition to the fact that it would be better for us if we didn't kick them out, it would also be better for them.
Okay, which countries have said that they don't want returning high-skilled laborers and investors?
Sorry, ask the question again.
Which countries have declared that they don't want a returning population of high-skilled laborers, commercial investors, and
I don't know. That doesn't sound like a sensible thing. That doesn't sound like a sensible thing for any other country to say.
Well, you just said that's what they said. You said they said they don't want these people.
No. The people themselves don't want to leave.
Oh, well, yeah, okay. But so that's different than the countries saying they don't want them. Because the countries would like them and they would help develop those countries, right?
I'm not really all that interested in that, because if we're gonna respect the people involved, their autonomy and the country that they want to live in, the question is, all right, they want to live here. Should we let them live here? And the answer to that question is based on the effect they have on this country. And because the effect is so good, I think we should let them live here.
Well, that's for normal immigration policy to decide, but when they come over illegally and we have the administrative authority under the executive branch to kick them out, even if they've been here for a long time, or especially if they've been here a long time and they've accrued a good amount of savings that they can then take back to their country and invest in the economic development of their country, then I think that's a win for... Yeah, win for everyone.
Yeah, my argument is that while the executive branch has the authority to do that, it still just would be better if they didn't.
Well, they also have an obligation to do that. They have to enforce the law. So they have both the authority to do so and the obligation.
I think the law is bad. We should change the law.
And they have the political motivation, because people, the majority of the country, believe that illegal immigrants should.
It's a minority. They've lost an enormous amount of favor since the election. You're wrong about that. Most people want this to stop. Even people who support dramatic deportation efforts look at the way it's being done in this country under Trump's second administration, and they say that ICE has gone too far. So no, you don't have the majority of public opinion.
There's certain contentions with the methodology that they're using, like the 100 people, court appearances, and then if they're not there, then it's an automatic deportation. But that's still all within the purview of the executive branch. It's people are obviously litigating it because they hate Trump and they hate anything that he does, but.
No, I don't like the accusation. No, stop. I'm gonna focus on something you just slipped something in, which I think is disingenuous, which is that you quietly in the middle of that sentence argued that the only reason I don't like the things that Trump does is because Trump does them. You don't know me. You don't know my political background. You don't know my history. You don't know how incensed I am when I see Trump do a bad thing. It's my opinion of Trump is predicated on the things he does. My opinion of the things he does is not predicated on who he is. It's a terrible accusation to make. I offer better consistency than that on my show.
You're not one of the attorneys. I was talking about the people that are bringing lawsuits against the Trump administration. You're not one of those people, unless you are
a lawyer.
Did you bring a lawsuit?
I'm not a lawyer.
So no, I wasn't talking about you, man.
Okay.
So I just want I want the world to succeed. I want economic development in other countries. I think that's a net positive for both those countries and for us.
Just gonna keep ignoring my positions on that. I can hear you're kind of in script mode.
Well,
it doesn't feel like a conversation at all.
It sounds like you don't want the economic development. You'd rather hoard it here in the United States, which is a hot take. Especially for a socialist. But if that's your position,
I'm not a socialist.
A democratic socialist leaning, you just said with your previous.
The labels are very messy and complicated. It's very hard to come up with a 2-word label that assesses exactly where on the political spectrum. That's kind of been the topic today.
So then your position is that you want America to succeed at the detriment of these other countries, and my position is
that's not what I said. It's a straw man. I don't agree with that summarization of my position.
Well, that's what you are advocating for. That's what will be effectuated by your position.
You are drawing a conclusion about the effect of my immigration policies that I want in this country. You're drawing a conclusion about the effect of those policies on another country, saying that I want those outcomes for those countries when I don't necessarily, and I also don't necessarily agree about the potential outcome for those countries that you're asserting. So again, you're just making a lot of leaps and then saying it's bad, and I'm just too good at getting strawmanned by chuds on TikTok to let it work. So we can actually talk about what I believe if you want, but if you're not interested in talking to me about what I believe, I am just going to move on to somebody else.
Okay, yeah, what do you believe then?
I believe that it would be better for Earth, on average, if we just let them stay.
Why?
Because they're already here. It's costly to move people, both in terms of the fuel used and the disruption to their lives and wherever they sit in their local economy. And it is so obviously beneficial to these people that it doesn't make sense to do it out of self-preservation. And I do recognize the value of self-preservation. These people left countries that they didn't want to leave in. I think that people wanting to, like all else kept equal, if we just have country A and country B, and a person wants to live in country B, that's better than them living in country A, simply because they want to. So if we're just going to assume all else is equal, that makes sense to me. I'm not necessarily going to call us responsible for every other country on the planet, and I think it is ridiculous for people who are opposed to my beliefs to so reliably care about other countries when it supports what they want, but not care about other countries when it doesn't support what they want. I don't think that your concern for other countries is at all predicated on anything reasonable or ethical about those countries. I think that you're just using it as leverage in this conversation.
No, I absolutely want the rest of the world to flourish. And I think that, brain draining and skill draining from those countries is economic to their economic detriment. And
then we're talking about the wrong type of immigration policy, because we have fast tracks for people who actually are skilled and educated to brain drain other countries. Are you mad about those policies? Because that's where the real brain drain is happening for other countries. It has nothing to do with the low skilled laborers that are hopping the border.
Well, Trump is also severely limiting those programs to the H-1B.
But can you address the fact that your concern is in completely the wrong place?
Well, the people who come over and work in our agriculture sector, those are skilled laborers. It's just a different skill than, I guess, the IT sector. But IT sector would be using like H-1B visas, and then I would agree in your position that yes, that would also brain drain, and Trump is also.
I guess then we have to start talking about an operational definition for what skilled labor is, because the GDP measurement absolutely disagrees with you about what you think a productive skilled laborer is. I guess I'm making the leap to calling it a productive laborer if we're concerned about the economic benefit to the home country, which an IT specialist is going to have a bigger economic damage to a country they're leaving than any particular farm laborer, and I think you know that.
That's not necessarily true, because a lot of countries are severely lacking.
Are you suggesting
modern agriculture processes?
Are you suggesting that the sort of employee who comes over on an H-1B visa for skilled and educated laborers is somebody who's going to, on average, not have a higher economic benefit to the GDP than a random person who's going to end up doing manual agricultural labor, perhaps?
Yeah, I mean, if that's your claim, I would have to see some data backing that up. But I don't think that is
the entire purpose of the H-1B visa program is literally to bring people over who are more economically beneficial to the GDP. So yeah, the entire program is predicated on data that suggests that I'm right and you're wrong, and that you're concerned about all this is misplaced.
It's within specific sectors. I think that probably someone who comes over and learns modern agricultural practices and technologies and brought that knowledge and training back home with them would actually have a better impact on their economies, especially if they're in a struggling country, than the IT guy going back.
Even within the sectors that the H-1B visa program focuses on, even within we choose those sectors for the very reason that I just described.
Yeah, because they would be a higher economic benefit to us, not because they are a better economic benefit to all countries. Yes, so that's why I'm saying that it would be more beneficial for the farmers to go back with modernized agricultural skills than it would be for IT guys to go back.
I'm just not hearing a good argument for that. This doesn't make any sense to me at all.
I mean, if you got some counter data that promotes the idea that the IT guys are going to go back and be a more economic boon to a country that needs farming more than needs IT infrastructure, then I mean, yeah, show me the data, you back that up. But I would contend with that position.
I literally think it is such a nonsensical claim you're making that as the way a country looks at an employee, that a super qualified IT specialist is not as economically valuable as somebody who does farm labor. I think that is so nonsensical a point. I'm not willing to use my show's airtime to back it up.
Well, okay. I mean, if that's your position, but again, in a developing country, in a developing country, it would. I mean, it stands to reason, right? Like you can reason out that these countries need modernized agriculture more than they currently need IT
Food is more important. Food is more important than computers, obviously. But if we're talking about somebody who has a high level degree in information technology, they're definitely coming from a country that has computers, right?
I'm not saying they don't have computers. That's not the argument I'm making. I'm saying
but you're arguing that they're coming from a place that would benefit more from food than development in their IT sector, and the very notion of that is wrong, given the fact that we're talking about a country that is generating people who are skilled at IT. So no, that's true of I don't know, what country's really not crushing it in Africa these days? That's probably true in Somalia, but we're not really getting all that many IT specialists from Somalia.
Yeah, Adain said lots of nations send their citizens to U.S. schools, for degrees, which is what I was going to make the point there, is that, it's not necessarily the country itself that's training high skilled technicians in any given STEM field. There's a lot of individual wealth among the certain families in certain countries, but again, overall the net benefit would be greater in different sectors. There's a lot of modernization that needs to happen in these sectors more than they need the guy with the IT degree.
I just think I think every step of the way you're making a leap that I wouldn't make. I mean, the fact that you're sitting here and pretending that you have some sort of philanthropic approach to how we should handle our immigration policy in such a way that benefits Earth as a whole generally, I just don't believe you. I don't think that the reason you like ICE is because you want to be good to the world. I don't believe that at all.
No, that is why. That's why I like it.
I'm honest on this show.
Pretending, but
I'm honest on this show
too. Yeah.
So I'm just going to say that while I can't read your mind, I do in this moment just believe, based on the conversation I'm having with you, that you're being disingenuous and you're trying to use humanitarian talking points to support your very unhumanitarian position. And I just don't believe you. I don't get better at lying, dude.
No, I've always had a very pro-humanitarian position. I've always,
and I don't believe you. You're not convincing me of that. And if my opinion is worth anything to my audience, I'm sorry, it's just not working on me. I genuinely don't believe you.
Okay, I mean, okay, but I just feel like that you're promoting, absorbing these people mostly indiscriminately, even if they came illegally, at the detriment of the countries that they came from. I think that is not a morally good position, so I mean, and you can say that you want the benefit of,
but there's counter arguments to that too. If a country is struggling to feed its people, a reduction in the population through migration is a good thing in the local sense. You recognize there are ways in which it is good to alleviate the pressure on these growing countries.
Not necessarily, because I mean, a person who is involved in.
I didn't say necessarily. I didn't say it. No. I need to stop. I didn't say necessarily. I said it's possible. I didn't say it's always going to be the case.
Yeah, okay. I mean, I guess, yes, in terms of mathematics and numbers of mouths to feed, then yeah, I mean, there's a logical
right. And you are arguing that it is necessarily bad for a particular country for some person to want to immigrate from it to the United States, and I'm arguing that that's not even necessarily true. But I guess I'm just a little bit apathetic towards the conversation with you because you're not making any good argument for it, and I don't believe you. I don't believe you're being genuine. I've spoken to you before enough to know that I just don't think you're that good a person. I think it's completely inconsistent with the other things that I know about the way that you think about this stuff. The fact that you
every single position that I've taken has tried to maximize the flourishing of humans. There's not a single position that I've taken that hasn't been for promoting. I don't want more plumbers because I want people's lives to be shittier. My position was always that I think that will be to their benefit in their development as children. Like my position was that it's because it will come to better analytic outcomes as they age. I've never made a position that is anti-human flourishing ever.
You said that plumbing is more important in education than civics.
Because I feel like it will, make their brain more well-rounded and give them better analytic abilities later in life than hyper-focusing on the paper academic. Like, that's why. It's not because I want them to not succeed as much.
We talked about it last time, but like the fact that you think that just demonstrates the sort of leaps you're willing to make in terms of your feeling about how important these things are. I don't think you realize the degree to which you're letting your feelings weigh in on these individual components of everything we're talking about. You feel very strongly about plumbing. I feel very strongly about civics.
So, with returning migrant businesses, there's a 30 to 45% higher level investment in the local country of business creators. For job creation potential, the returning migrants are 3 times more likely to. I'm not just using my feelings. There's statistics to back this up.
Slow down. You kind of stumbled over yourself there. You said a bunch of potentially correct information, but you didn't say it well. What did you just say?
Oh, for returning migrants, they are 30 to 40% or 45% more likely to create businesses. They are 3 times more likely to hire.
Yeah, and you do understand that data necessarily selects from the migrants who chose to return, who are necessarily going to be the ones who had the economic freedom to return, which means that they were unusually successful in their stay in whatever country they're returning from.
No, this isn't limited to just, elective returning.
I'm saying that data about returning migrants is limited to migrants who have returned, which makes them unrepresentative of migrants generally. And the first word out of your mouth after I said that was no.
No, okay. If the data is on return migrants, that's what we're talking. We're talking about returning migrants back to their home countries. So yes, this data is about them.
So you're saying that we should return all the migrants because that would then be you're extrapolating the outcome for those who chose to return to potentially those who didn't choose to return. And that's one of those little leaps you're making that I'm saying is not sensible.
Side note, why someone keeps calling me Peaches in your chat? I don't know what's going on with that. Weird, but stop it, I guess. Okay, yeah.
Eyes up here, buddy. Come on.
But yeah, so yeah, I'm just saying the data on all return migrants, and that's what we're talking about. We're talking about returning migrants to their home country. I think it's an economic boom.
No, but you didn't address my problem with your line of reasoning, which is that if we just took all of the illegal immigrants and made them return, you cannot expect that group of people to have the same outcome that you just described the data for, because that's not people who are successful enough to go, wow, look at that, I've made enough money to fly my family home, let's do this, let's go back and make life great again where I came from. That's not that group of people. That's going to be a bunch of poor, struggling people who don't want to go home, and they're not going to have the economic outcomes that you just described. It's magical thinking to suggest they would.
If they are poor, struggling people, then they're not the people we're talking about. We're talking about the migrants who are here, who are a net benefit, who are paying, like you said, paying into our tax system.
Those struggling
highly
people
productive members
are a net benefit here. We know that
they'll
from
be
data.
a better net benefit there. Yeah. To their country, yes, they will be a net benefit.
That's not necessarily true, because we have the opportunity to make good use of those people for our GDP, for our society, for all the things that I'm referring to when I say they make life better here. Their home country doesn't necessarily have that outcome. If you have a spare bedroom and you need somebody to, and somebody's fallen on hard times, and they're like sleeping on my couch where there isn't room for them, and we go, oh my God, it would be so much better if they slept on your spare bedroom because you have room for them. Then they'd have room to thrive and get their wardrobe together, maybe get a fancy job with those nice interview clothes. Like, they'd have a better chance of thriving in your more prosperous situation than the one that I have to offer. And you're just arbitrarily suggesting that they should go back to wherever they came from, because whatever benefit they have from being in your spare room, they could also get from my spare couch. And that's just not how it works. You're just making that up.
Oh shoot! Someone's here. I gotta go, but continue at another time.
Sure, I'm sure you'll be back. Thanks for hopping up. So many leaps. So many leaps. Oh, if you enjoy the Oskar Quentin debate show, you can go to the link tree in my bio and support it by following me on the other platforms. That doesn't cost you a dime. If you have a dime that you want to spare to help me live my dream, you can send it to my Venmo, Cash App, Buy Me a Coffee, or Patreon. Or if any of those methods don't work for you because you're international, please message me. We can figure out something that does work. I need to have like a, if you're not an American, you can support me this way button, but I don't know what that is. So maybe PayPal, but the email that I use for that is private information, so I don't know how to set that up. If somebody does know, callers like el.chico.tech.edu, I'll tell you right now, well, I'll tell you in a second. After I thank Seb on YouTube for the $10 super chat, or £10 super chat, says, damn, that couch analogy was good. Yeah, it's just, these people don't know how data works. They don't realize that when you collect data about a group of people, you can't just change a bunch of details about that group of people and say the data will apply. That's just not how it works. Tekken has a suggestion Cash App. There is a Cash App on the link tree in my bio. If that works for you, you can go find it there. I will just briefly, potentially not briefly, I'm going to just warn el.chico.tech.edu. While he gets a lot of airtime on my show, he gets too much airtime on my show. And it's starting to feel not... doing all right. But yeah, I mean, we talked about this last time. It's starting to not feel all that productive to have you up. I almost feel like we've run out of things to talk about. Do you have something new for today?
Well, let's talk about how those crazies are protesting and fighting for illegal immigrants more than American citizens.
They're fighting for human rights.
What human rights are they fighting for?
When we incarcerate people, when people are detained, it's really important that we give them appropriate like living conditions, like a comfortable place to sleep and food and stuff like that.
Define comfortable.
Like a mattress.
Just a mattress, just a foam mattress. Have you been in county?
An appropriate temperature for the room. I mean, each of these things is going to have a slightly subjective thing, but if all of them are out of whack, if the mattress is too hard and there's no blanket and it's a little cold and the food isn't quite enough because you get more hungry when you're cold, when you're sleeping, like you need more food to keep your metabolism up. Like it can add up to inhumane conditions, and it takes a little bit of human experience and reasoning and to look at a situation and go, you know what, this is inhumane. So yeah, there isn't an easy quantitative yes or no, flip this 0 to a 1, it has become unhumane. Like it's not that simple, and I think it's inhumane of you to try to simplify it in that way. But
no, it's very simple. It's very simple. American citizens who are in prison or in jail live in a 4x4 cell that is made out of cement and concrete. You think that's warm or is that cold?
Sorry, what?
American citizens who are in prison and who are in jail and who are detained, they live in concrete cells that are cold.
4x4 feet. Is that what you said?
4x4, 10x10, whatever you want to. Different sizes.
Big difference. Well,
no,
if it's 4x4, that's not enough room. If it's 10x10, that is. So which is it?
Okay, 10x10, whatever you want to call it. They still
that's
are
enough room.
Okay, so what makes you think that illegal immigrants are not getting the same as American citizens?
The Human Rights Watch groups that investigate the conditions at these facilities, the facts that these facilities
what evidence do they have?
There's maggots in the food at Delaney Hall, dude.
Oh yeah, you have pictures of that?
I don't know exactly here, let's
yeah, you guys keep on mentioning there's maggots, there's this, there's that. I'm like, interesting. Like, if some of the illegal immigrants have their phones with them, why aren't they blasting these pictures out all over the place?
Let's see.
If the conditions are so bad. If the conditions are so bad, how come they have phones?
Well, okay, so let's see. I'm looking at an article from NBC that talks about the detainees reporting that. Let's see. Inedible food, unsanitary conditions, abusive treatment, indignities left and right, and limited access or no access to medical care. That's the director of the ACLU, and I just consider the ACLU a good source on these things. So when the ACLU asserts that sort of thing, I am inclined to believe them, because one of the jobs that the ACLU does is maintain a reputation such that when when they make that sort of assertion, somebody like me can know that they're not bullshitting. So we could go down the rabbit hole of checking every little individual thing in the process, but there is just a degree to which we have to trust certain things. I am doing the same thing. There are people who say that if Oskar Quentin asserts it, it's probably true because the guy knows his shit. And if I fuck up, I need to issue a correction. I do that in the description of my YouTube videos, by the way. Sometimes I get details wrong.
That's good.
And
that's on. That, you know,
right,
that's good.
right. But what I'm saying, but I know this from talking to you that you need to know exactly who was interviewed, what their name was, exactly what the proof is. You need to see the photograph yourself. And that is not the burden that you have when you're talking about things that support your side. You can always ask another question that I won't have the answer to. Here, what's my source? It's the director of the ACLU in New Jersey. What's their name? Fuck, man. I don't know. But they're the director of the ACLU in New Jersey, and that means something to me.
Okay, so is the ACLU telling you these things, or are they showing you these things? I think they're just telling you.
I just addressed that. If you weren't listening to if you weren't listening to what I just said,
you didn't address it. Are they showing you, or are they just telling you?
I'm not going to say it again, dude. I just said that I trust.
No, answer the question. It's a simple question.
Telling me, not showing me.
Telling you?
The ACLU director in New Jersey would lose their job if they started making unsubstantiated claims like this. And think about how it would go.
Who's gonna fire them? They're a nonprofit organization. They're not a federal government. What kind of access and emplacement does the ACLU have inside these prisons?
The people who support the ACLU want them to do a good job of promoting civil rights in this country. The American Civil Liberties Union is what they're called, by the way. So they appoint people to those positions who do a good job. So it would be a huge scandal if those people failed. And you're sitting here doubting it every step of the way while believing the bullshit that comes over the lectern when a Republican says it. What I'm pointing out to you is that you are being an absolute hypocrite about your burden of proof.
No, because I'm asking you. You're telling me that the ACLU is giving you information, is telling you something, but yet you don't verify by saying, "Hey, show me the proof. Show me these pictures. Show me these things that you're saying. Just don't tell me, but show me." But you're not. You just rather will be told information and take it with a grain of salt and blast it with your misinformation. But then you don't ask for the proof. Like, "Hey, I want to see these pictures. I want to see videos of these conditions."
Okay, so their lawyer, Selenia DeStefani, has reported. She represents dozens of people who are held at Delaney Hall, and she's reporting this information. So that's where it comes from. And for me, it does stand as some sort of evidence that 300 people at Delaney Hall are performing a hunger strike. One of the reasons people do hunger strikes is because starving yourself is so miserably unpleasant a thing to do that if you are doing it in protest of your living conditions, it is evidence to reasonable thinking people that your living conditions are bad.
Not necessarily, because prisoners go on hunger strikes all the time, just because they don't like something, or just because they want to let go free, or just because they feel they're being disenfranchised because they're in prison. It's not because, oh my God, I'm being treated bad. It's because they're going to get deported, and they're trying to stop it.
I mean, again, dude, I'm giving you my sources, and I'm giving you my reason why people believe it. If you don't
you can give it to me all you want, but you're not showing the proof. You're just showing hearsay.
Okay, how do you feel about the fact that these detention centers, Delaney Hall and the Whipple building here in Minneapolis and other detention centers, have a bad track record of not allowing people who are there to inspect in? Because our lawmakers have the right to go there and inspect, and they often get denied at the door. That's evidence of wrongdoing behind the doors, but there's this fundamental problem with addressing wrongdoing that's being hidden, which is that you get to say it's hidden, and I get to say, right, yeah, I didn't get in there and get a picture of it, but the fact that they're not letting me in to take the pictures is suspicious. We need to be worried about this. And you're saying you're not going to be worried about it until you see the pictures. Do you see the problem with how people can get away with civil rights abuses if people require the sort of proof that you have, when we have admittedly circumstantial proof, like the fact that they're resistant to the inspections that they're legally required to offer?
Well, you just gave another piece of disinformation, because we just had a bunch of Congress members go into the New Jersey facility.
One example of
what,
people
they've fought
one example,
and tried to get into the facilities, and they
shouldn't have had to fight at all. And one example of somebody getting to do an inspection does not mean that the widespread problem I just described is happening. That's like me saying that there's a problem where convenience stores are getting robbed, and then you go point at a convenience store and say, look, that one's not getting robbed. You must be wrong. It's nonsense, dude. But I also know that you're not very good at reasoning, so it makes sense that you'd make that sort of
reasoning for illegal immigrants? No, I don't reason to criminals.
You don't use reason for criminals?
No, I don't reason for criminals. once you're an illegal criminal, you're an illegal immigrant, and you broke the law, and you get deported just because you feel some sort of way. Because of your detention, everybody gets detained. If you break the law, you DWI, you do whatever the case is, you get detained. It's not a happy feeling. It's not. And you get put in a prison or in a jail or in a cell with a bunch of other dudes ripped from your clothes. Like, what do you want?
You still need to use reason when talking about it, though.
Reason? What reason? That's
logic. Logic. You need to be a reasonable person when discussing these things. Yes.
Logically, if you're detained, you're going to complain and bitch and moan. That's logic. Have you ever been detained?
No, I've been detained. I've been detained, but I've not in a building. I've been detained by law enforcement many times.
Okay, so you were put in handcuffs?
We've been zip tied.
Okay, but still, it's a form of restraint, right? You've been restrained.
I've been detained, yes.
Okay, so what happens when you get detained? Are you freely to move, do whatever you want, say whatever you want? No, right?
It depends on the.
What do you mean it depends? I mean, okay, so let me give you an example. For instance, like, okay, when you're detained, is it smart for you to use your First Amendment right?
Is it smart for me to use my First Amendment right when detained? What a bizarre question that demonstrates the way that you think about civil rights. It's very circumstantially dependent, but you could say that about exercising your First Amendment right whether or not you're detained. Like, you exercising your First Amendment right by calling into the show and saying the things that you would do, I would consider inadvisable.
Yeah, I'm not detained. But my question is, when you're detained, is it smart of you to use your First Amendment rights when you're detained? No, right?
It depends on, no, it might be.
No,
it depends
it's
on the
not.
Circumstances.
No, because what happens is once you're detained and you start saying some things, You
have the right to remain silent so things can't be used against you in court.
Okay.
It can be smart. It can be smart to keep your mouth shut when you're being detained. That doesn't necessarily mean that you shouldn't advocate for yourself if something bad is happening to you.
So for your First Amendment right is
Thank you, Hilo on YouTube, who
kind of restricted,
Welcome,
right?
Supporter. What?
Your First Amendment right is restricted, correct?
By being detained?
Yeah, because it could be used against you. And that's kind of a restriction.
Well, all of your rights are detained if you're restrained if you're detained. What do you mean?
Okay, so what rights do illegal immigrants who are detained have?
It depends on the type of detention. Like, what are we talking about, dude?
Immigration detention.
Courtney Conaway sent me $5 on YouTube Super Chat just for me to point out to you. This dude is saying that the DHS wouldn't jump at the opportunity to sue the ACLU for defamation if these claims were made up out of whole cloth. That's another thing. One of the things that happens is these people who actually have good evidence, but maybe they can't show that evidence to the public for issues of privacy or something, which is often what happens with the ACLU. They know that if they say it to the public, it's further evidence of the guilt of whoever they're accusing if they don't sue them for defamation, because if the proof counters what they're claiming, then they would get sued for defamation. The reason they won't is because they're right. It's very interesting that Donald Trump has not sued anybody for calling him a pedophile, because a civil litigation about that would offer some very interesting discovery.
You know how many people call him a pedo? You think you think he has enough money to do that? You know how much money
he has enough money to keep trying it on E. Jean Carroll, even though it's not working.
What are you talking about? E. Jean Carroll lied. She's about to go to jail, dude. Face the fact. Face the fact that she was working with Reid Hoffman, who was actually in the Epstein files in the Epstein Island. Why do you think Reid Hoffman paid for her legal fare?
Dude, you're making shit up, dude. So many judges have ruled on this.
No. So many judges have ruled on it. So many judges ignored it. Yeah, you're right. They ignored it. They ignored the fact that she lied to push the narrative.
So now we have corrupt judges. You ask corrupt judges? No, let me just point something out to my audience. I don't have as good proof for the ACLU thing that happened earlier in the call as I do about Trump's case with E. Jean Carroll, because there literally was a civil case where a unanimous jury found him to have done the bad thing that E. Jean Carroll asserts that he does. So what can I possibly say to you, dude? This is why it's not worth my time to have you on my show.
Well, the reason why the jury wasn't able to see that evidence that she lied under a deposition was because the judge didn't allow it. And that actually infringes on Donald Trump's civil liberties, because that's proof that she was lying for one certain thing of who was funding her lawyers. Now, what else could she be lying about?
What's your evidence for what you're saying? I'm going to pull the same thing on you. You wanted to know about my evidence for the ACLU.
What's the evidence? Okay, so in her deposition, which is public.
Which deposition? When was it?
When was it? I don't remember. It's a deposition that's out there. It's a clip.
When? What year? What year did it happen in?
You could look it up. It's during the Kaplan, I guess Judge Kaplan, whatever his name is.
Judge Kaplan deposed her? Do judges do depositions?
No, it's during his case. That's what I'm talking about.
Okay, so when was that?
I don't know, what, 2022, 2023?
No, you don't even know the year. Okay, who exactly was deposing?
I don't need to know the year. I'm not the one in trial. Unlike, I don't go out there and say, hey, someone harassed me.
You see what I'm doing?
It happened within a year. I mean, that's the same thing E. Jean Carroll did. She said, hey,
I'm using your tactic against you, and it's upsetting you.
That's not upsetting me because...
Let's see the video. Let's watch the video together. I've got a web browser open. Let's look at it. What do I search?
The E. Jean Carroll deposition in regards to her...
Wait, hold on. I'm going to show everybody how good you are at Googling, and we're going to go E. Jean Carroll, what?
Lied under deposition.
Lied under deposition. What do I click? What do I click?
Search whatever you want. Look, read it, whatever you do. You could do research. I did my own research, and I believe the fact that
you insisted that I research my claim. You insisted that I research my claim live in front of you. I'm asking you to research your claim, and you're refusing.
Read and analyze all the evidence.
You're doing the research. I'm just the hands. What do I click? It's your search term.
You go ahead. Go ahead and look at what you feel.
This is your job. It is your burden of proof, as you said it was for my claim about the ACLU. So show me what I should scroll to and click. Here, I'll scroll down. Can you read it? What am I clicking on here?
No, you can click any of those. Which one do you like the best? What about Justice Department? Justice Department launches a criminal investigation into E. Jean Carroll.
Okay. Exclusive. Justice Department launches a criminal investigation into Trump accuser E. Jean Carroll. This is a news story that I managed to miss from last week. How crazy. The Justice Department has launched a criminal investigation into E. Jean Carroll, the former magazine columnist who accused President Donald Trump of sexual assault, according to multiple sources familiar with the matter. Oh, okay, wait, so hold on. What are these sources familiar with the matter? Who are they?
I don't know, you gotta ask CNN.
I'm just using your own burden against you. You recognize that I'm just turning the table on you and saying that this isn't a good source unless you can answer these questions, right?
I mean, you gotta ask the source. Like, why are you asking me? You just picked that, and I told you to pick it. I'll tell you probably a little bit under.
The investigation is focused on whether Carroll committed perjury in testimony tied to her two civilian lawsuits against the president. One alleging he sexually abused Carroll in a New York department store in the mid-1990s. Can I just point out? I don't think we need to read this farther. I don't think it's very good. Like if there's something in this article.
Reading. There you go. Look, prosecutors' theories.
We can keep. Listen for a second, dude. Listen, your whole thing with E. Jean Carroll is saying that her accusations were baseless. I am seeing accusations here that are baseless because I don't think there's proof in this article that she lied, and it's unsurprising that Trump's DOJ is going after her. But again, what is your proof? Because I asked here. I'll do what we did with the ACLU.
Oh, wait, why didn't you read the bottom paragraph where it says prosecutors?
Okay, there we go. Thank you for presenting it. How far down do I need to go?
Go back down. It was the next paragraph.
Oh, you said the bottom paragraph. I started scrolling down.
That was the next paragraph.
Okay, can we just pause for a moment? Pause. We'll do that in a moment. I'm going to scroll away from it so that you can listen while I'm paused. We'll look at it in a second. You do realize this is unfair, the way that you're demanding that we scrutinize my position on things, but you're just hand-waving and saying it's my job to figure this shit out that you brought me. You realize that
I gave you the information, and you need to be able to say, hey, okay, well, I'm going to take it with a grain of salt and then look into it and verify, hey, is this guy really saying the truth or saying the things he says? Because when you told me ACLU is doing all these things, I go, okay, well, let me go look at it. Okay, I look at it. I was like, okay, I'm just being told a bunch of stuff. Where's the evidence?
Okay, so the prosecutor's theory hinges on a 2022 deposition statement by Carroll that's saying that she received no outside funding for her lawsuit, though it was later revealed that billionaire Reid Hoffman had paid some legal fees and expenses. Okay, I'm sorry. What does this have to do with her claims about Donald Trump?
Dude, she lied under a deposition that she wasn't receiving any outside funding. That she was paying it straight out of her own pocket.
Even if that claim is true, what does that have to do with the fact that Trump was found to have done the thing that was bad?
Because she could have been lying about that as well.
Okay, that's
I
true.
want the liar.
Anybody
always
can
a
be
liar.
lying.
Especially under oath.
Oh,
if you lie under
once
oath, your
a li-
credibility is fucked.
So when Donald Trump lied under oath during the E. Jean Carroll case, does that make him once a liar, always a liar?
When did he lie under oath?
When he said that he hadn't met her, she immediately presented a photograph of the two of them standing together. He said that she wasn't her type, and that he, in that same courtroom, confused a photograph of his ex-wife with her, which suggests to me that he maybe did have a type that was something like her if he married a woman that he accidentally later then mistook for her. So yeah, there are numerous examples of Donald Trump
Famous
lying
people
under oath.
do a lot of photo shoots, and do you think, like, okay, you do a photo shoot with a random person on the street and say, hey, let me get a selfie? You think you met that person? No, right? All right, come on, let's use common sense here, guy.
I got sent $3 to kick you, and I'm going to resist it for just a second because Law of the Wild hopped up, so I'm going to let them try with you. But you really are just a waste of time if you can't see that you're handling these things in a way that's completely unfair, dude.
Law of the Wild needs to explain to us, why did the judge ignore the fact that E. Jean Carroll lied?
Because she didn't. But real quick, Oscar,
she did.
The article that
what are you talking about? She did it.
The article that you just had up there has a quote. It says, a day after CNN published the story, U.S. Attorney for Andrew Boutros said in a statement that the District of Illinois has not opened and has never opened an investigation into E. Jean Carroll. They're looking into, what was the name of Reid Hoffman's organization, about the litigation funding. E. Jean Carroll did say at the time she had not received any outside funding, and then she later clarified that since then she had received funding. So she didn't lie. Once she received funding, she disclosed that. That's in the court documents. And that's why she's not under investigation. They're looking into Reid Hoffman's organization about the legality of his litigation funding and whether it was properly disclosed. They're not investigating E. Jean Carroll for anything.
Oh, no, they're still investigating her. Yep, the DOJ opened an inquiry.
You're just making that up, dude.
I'm just reading New York Times. When was this? When was this published?
Dude, you said, can we go back to when you said once
May
a liar, always a liar?
May 27th was published, and I don't see anything about...
And May 29th, the U.S. attorney that has jurisdiction over Chicago, Boutros, said that they are not investigating Carroll, and they have never opened an investigation into Carroll.
All right.
Okay, so
Law of the Wild. While I love you, Law of the Wild, I am going to cut it. el.chico.tech.edu. We'll talk another time, hopefully at the end of the show, so I don't give more airtime to you. But somebody paid me $50 to kick you, so thank you so much to Tavi Badir. Let me know if I'm pronouncing your username correctly. There's two consonants next to each other. I don't know how to pronounce it, but Tavi said donating just to kick. This is every time with El Chico and his bad faith arguments, and that got 4 thumbs up in the matter of seconds it's been since it was sent. So thanks so much for the donation. I appreciate it. But yeah, I'm just trying not to give too much airtime to that guy. He's asking for a lifetime ban, and I might say that, like, El Chico, like, I might have to restrict you to the last 30 minutes of the show, because, like, you are bad for the show when you just come up and say nonsense in circles and then chuckle and move on to something else when it gets addressed. Like, that's El Chico quote of the day. Once a liar, always a liar. And W's in the chat for Law of the Wild, because he popped up and he'd already analyzed that article in a way that I didn't. Just Bob is on the line. Just Bob, how old are you?
Hey, Oscar, I'm 39. I just wanted to address some things that Chico was talking about really quick with the ICE detention centers, because aside from what the ACLU, whether or not what they're saying is true or not, that's just ridiculous that he's even saying that that's something that needs to be challenged. But what he needs to understand is people that are in county are incarcerated. People that are at Delaney Hall are detained. The people that are in Delaney Hall are hunger striking right now because they want to go before a judge, because they want their cases to be heard. Okay, they are not incarcerated. They are detained illegally on racist pretenses, and all they want is for their cases to be heard. That's it. Okay, so they are not incarcerated. They should be out living their lives free. Okay, they shouldn't be stuck in a prison somewhere, being fed maggot-ridden food. They are detained. They are not incarcerated. There's a big difference between those two things. And all they want is their cases to be heard. And they also want to not be. They're basically holding self-deportation orders over their head, saying you can get out of here if you sign the self-deportation order. They don't want to sign a self-deportation order. They want to go before a judge. They want their cases to be heard, and they want to move on with their fucking lives. That's what's going on in Delaney Hall.
Thank you.
That's all.
Appreciate
you
that.
can drop me down. Thank you, Oscar.
Appreciate you, Bob. Yeah, it's the hard thing for me as somebody whose job it is now, because it literally now is my job to keep track of all these things, is that I can't look at every headline and go down the rabbit hole to find the name of the exact person who reported it and exactly how it went up the chain and exactly how it got passed to this news network. There is a degree to which each of us have to trust certain things, and one of the things that I trust is the ACLU, because they're an organization that, among other things, exists to be able to make these public claims in ways that I can just believe, because that's the whole thing that they do. It's why when Pew tells me that polling data says something, I don't go, oh, well, hold on. What exactly was this type of, how did they do the poll? Was this a phone poll? Was this an exit poll? Like whatever type of thing it was. If it's Pew or Gallup, I just go, okay, it's a Pew poll or a Gallup poll. I trust them to a certain degree with most subject matters. If it's a polling organization I've never heard of, I might ask those questions. I might say, how did they do this poll? Where did this information come from? So there has to be shortcuts in our heuristics. Otherwise, the only other way to handle information is to just scrutinize everything to pieces, which we don't have enough time to do. So we just have to have some level of trust. But one of the ways in which the opposition can weaponize that state of affairs is by insisting that level of scrutiny about every little minute detail of the stuff that's true, while just completely glossing over all of the important details about the bullshit they're spewing. el.chico.tech.edu didn't answer my concern about the fact that inspectors have a very hard time getting into these facilities. Never mind, like, all right, he doesn't believe that there's maggots in the food. He doesn't believe that the living conditions are bad. He doesn't believe that these people have a good reason to be going on a hunger strike, which I think is just hard to believe in the first place, that 300 people would go on a hunger strike without good reason. He doesn't believe that. Fine. He can believe that our lawmakers, there's video of our lawmakers knocking on the doors. I know this from here in Minnesota, saying, hey, let us in. We're here to do an inspection, and them not getting let in. That shit happens. That's plain as day true, but he's not even going to look at that. He's not even going to consider that. He's too busy asking me how the ACLU came to their claim that there are poor living conditions in Delaney Hall. It's just, you can just weaponize the fact that you can be a 5-year-old and say why to everything that gets said. No matter what I say. Oh yeah, but why? Who did that? Who said that? When was that? What date was that published exactly? Is that a good organization? Blah, 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 blah. Has E. Jean Carroll told a lie in her life? Fucking probably. She's 82. We're talking about Trump of all people. You're really going to say once a liar, always a liar in a conversation about where you're defending Trump. It's nonsense. It's nonsense. And I think el.chico.tech.edu might just get the permaban for being disingenuous, because there's no point in having a conversation who's not with somebody who's, like, he's interesting. I do believe he's often genuine in ways that are entertaining and show his lack of understanding. But, like, lately in particular, I just feel like he's just unwilling to even have the conversation. Yeah, I don't know. I'm reading the chat. Archie says El Chico is a waste of time and good energy. Yeah, I mean, you know, it's like it's the dilemma I run into running this show generally, which is that I can do things on this show that are entertaining, like talk to el.chico.tech.edu. It's certainly farms good Instagram clips. It's like good for the show, because that's how like a lot of the traffic comes to the show. A lot of people who are watching because they found me on Instagram, where I have, I don't even fucking know, like 60-something thousand followers. I don't even know. It's moving too fast for me to keep track of. What is it? 65.7 thousand. Thanks everybody for that. So like it's good to promote the show by being entertaining and having fun and like goofing on these people. But he's Archie's saying that he's purposefully obtuse. I guess the thing is, he's so genuinely obtuse, it's hard to tell when he's being purposefully obtuse. And if somebody who is genuinely obtuse most of the time, in the brief moments where he does maybe understand what's going on, he's going to then be intentionally obtuse, then there's no point in talking to him, right? Like, it's only fascinating to talk to somebody that obtuse if there are moments where we can get him to see reason. That's the fun in talking to el.chico.tech.edu for me. I go, oh my God, am I going to be able to get el.chico.tech.edu to understand something today? And if what actually happens is that when he finally does understand the thing I'm explaining to him, he just chuckles and moves past it disingenuously, then like there's just no point. Is that he's not giving me the reward for my work, which is seeing that I actually got through to him in some kind of way. So you're banned, el.chico.tech.edu. Get off my show. Go bother Parker and Dean. I don't know. Non-playable says, yeah, I found you on Insta. Watching you have to deal with these nutcases is so wild, but I'm glad you're able to expose their weird frauds. These weird frauds. Yeah, I mean, like, at the end of the day, I think I'm exposing what el.chico.tech.edu is like, but I'm just gonna say it. He's banned from the show for a time. I don't know. I'm gonna take a month off from talking to that guy, because he's just not actually. Nobody's home. There's no. He's just all talking points. But we don't have anybody in the chat, so I'll ask people on TikTok either to get double tapping away on the screen, or because we have 27 minutes left in the scheduled block for the show, you can hop in the chat if you want to talk about some friendly stuff. We can have that part of the day. We're going to talk to Feral Raccoon in Leet Speak, who I think I've spoken to before. I think this is a friendly. Hello, how old are you?
Hi, I'm 18.
Welcome to the show. Are you a friendly?
Yeah. I wanted to talk to you because my dad, he's very liberal, and I'm trying to talk to him into being a little bit more leftist and voting left, because last election he was voting for Trump. And can you educate me a little bit more possibly on how I can talk him in a little bit more?
Well, the first thing I'll say.
I don't know.
Yeah. The first thing I'll say is that you are dealing with a problem that I don't have any personal experience with. I come from a pretty liberal family. I've never had to have the angry Thanksgiving dinner conversation with somebody about what's going on. So it's really not something that I relate to. But I can relay what I've heard people have been successful about in their lives from people like friends of mine that do deal with MAGA families, because lots of people have super red families here in Minnesota. And also just from what I've seen from other people in the debate space, which is that there are particular things that Trump has done that are clear as day, things that he did do. People are going to argue forever about whether or not he did that bad thing to E. Jean Carroll. People are going to argue forever about whether or not he's implicated in the Epstein files. But there are some things that he literally did do, like, for example, meeting with the Republicans that wanted to vote to release the Epstein files, begging them not to release them. And then he turned around and told his followers on Truth Social and all the voting members of our House of Representatives to vote with him now and say to release them. And that's an inconsistency. That shows that he was desperate to hide those files, and when he saw that he was cornered on it, he gave up and pretended he supported it so people can call into my show and say, well, he released them. That's a thing he did in the public. There's no denying that that's a thing that he did during that week in November. So the angle that I offer for you is select some things that are important to you, that you're knowledgeable about, that really get to the rub of what's wrong with Donald Trump, that are truly undeniable. Because, yeah, I wasn't in the dressing room with E. Jean Carroll. There's always that level of benefit of the doubt. Could the judge have been corrupt? Possibly. Could the jury have been corrupt? It's not a logical impossibility. I don't think it was. I argue against it all the time. But I see it as the sort of brick wall that it is. Whereas if you're stuck with somebody in your life, your own father, who thinks that way, I would urge you to limit your attention to things that are truly undeniable, because it's not a good use of your social energy with somebody that you care about to talk about stuff where they will always have the benefit of the doubt to just fold their arms and say nope.
Right. And the argument that I'm always getting, or actually, I forgot what I was going to say. I'm sorry. Thank you so much for your time.
No, I appreciate you.
Have a great day.
You as well. Thanks for hopping up. We'll talk to Monk. It's been a little while since Monk was on. Hello, Monk. How old are you again?
I am 68.
Welcome back.
Yep. I'm 68, and I was watching old videos about commercials. I used to work in advertising, so I just love to watch advertising, and I had a realization. There used to be a very old commercial called I'm a Mac, referencing Apple computers, Macintoshes. Do you remember that?
I do remember those commercials.
Right. So there were three critical things in those commercials. One of them was, and I promise I have a point here, they never talked down to the people who use PCs. Two, they had this huge realization in the agency. Chait Day, who did it, had this huge realization. it wasn't that the people who used PCs at that time didn't know Macs were good. They knew Macintosh computers were good. They knew Apple made a great product. It was that they didn't realize that their computers sucked. And the example I always use whenever I get into an argument with people about that is, no, PCs don't suck back then, right? I was like, okay, so when I want to copy something on a Mac, I hit Command-C, it's done. When you hit Command-C on a PC, you see this little thing of a bird that gets up and flies over to another place and lands. And until that copy command is done, regardless of how big the file is, it just plays and plays. And I actually watched people sit there for 8 minutes. They could not do anything.
Well, so actually, wait, hold on. I got to cut you off because maybe we're going to have the Mac versus PC debate, because I'm old enough to remember that time and remember the difference, because the position that I always had is that Macs and PCs are different. Macs are easier to use and more resistant to things like viruses and other attacks that are of greater concern if you're not.
I'd love to have this conversation with you, Oscar, but I just want to get to my point because, trust me, it's a good point.
Okay.
And then, okay, the main thing about talking to people, and this is what, since I watched that, I've tried this out a few times, and when I've been talking to people, to Trumpers, I realized attacking them is pointless. Secondly, making them feel bad is pointless. All right? Talking down to them, pointless. All of that causes them to armor up. But if you go in and you say to yourself, do they know that Kamala was a better candidate deep down? 9 out of 10 times, yes, they do. It's like, do they like women? Most of them marry women. On average, those who marry, 90%.
Marrying a woman doesn't mean you respect women, not at all.
No, I didn't say respect. I said like. Okay? They prefer women. They like women. They want to usually be with women if they're guys. Okay? I'm just using this as examples. They know this other stuff is good. A lot of times, they know their lives are bad. That's why they, quote unquote, voted for that kind of change, right? What you have to do is the same thing that what Apple did with their commercials, which caused them to go from selling 400,000 computers in a year to in 1 quarter selling 3 million. You have to get them to realize that what they identify with defines them and how people see them. And you have to get them to realize they don't want to be identified with that they really don't like that, because they don't. If they did, they'd be super happy. They're not super happy. They're super angry.
Well, I guess I'm not entirely seeing the parallel, and part of the reason is because maybe I just disagree with you enough about the Mac and PC thing and the history of all that to see where the analogy is as strong, especially in consideration of the fact that even the advertisers have a hard time. They admit they have a hard time associating the success of any particular business with any particular ad campaign. The advertisers say that half of the money spent on ads is wasted. If only we could tell which half it is.
Okay.
So I think that was probably a successful ad campaign. I actually disagree with a lot of what you said about the differences between the two and how that might apply to conversations on this show. But I will recognize that I have the choice of either trying to reach the guest or make a spectacle of them for everybody watching. And I will admit that most of the time on this show, most of the callers I have a debate with are people who I'm making a spectacle of, who I have no hope of reaching. But I'm just putting on display, look, this is what a Trump supporter, this is the type of reasoning a Trump supporter has to use. So maybe somebody who hasn't even thought all that hard about it, somebody in the middle who doesn't follow it all that closely, can just look at a conversation between me and a diehard Trump supporter and go, oh, this guy's defending rape. And then they'll, maybe trust me and side with me. And in terms of a pragmatic approach to win mass appeal, that's the game we're playing. Just in the same way as I was saying earlier in the show that we need to trust a claim made by the head of an ACLU chapter in a state because they'd get in trouble. Hopefully people can recognize that if I was up here spewing bullshit, people would point it out. And sometimes I say something wrong and people do point it out. Chad will tell me if I'm wrong.
You're very good at listening.
I'm just trying to sell an internet personality that people trust, I'm trying to do that by being trustworthy, and that doesn't always necessarily mean I'm going to be successful at reaching reaching the guest, you know? Like sometimes I am mean to the guest. Sometimes it is performative and cathartic because the audience wants to see me chew somebody's head off for what they said about women or gay people or trans people or whatever it is.
Yeah.
So I mean, you know, it's an approach thing that I need to navigate with every individual caller. I have to run that little calculation as fast as I can when somebody gets on the line. Which is it? Am I trying to reach them or am I making a spectacle of them? And generally, I default to trying to reach them, and there just comes a point where I'm just making a spectacle of them, and that often happens very quickly in the first few seconds of the call.
Yeah, to this new technique that I'm trying, when I talk to them, I let them say some things, and then like if they bring up E.G. Carroll, I ask them to tell me more about it. And I listen to them, which sometimes is really hard, right? And then I usually will say, did you ever know anyone in high school who did something like that? And, you know, they'll say, oh yeah, I knew someone who said that they did and then the other person said they were raped. I was like, yeah. And everything, do you like that person? You know, I will wait till they're halfway and I go, just ask them, do you like that person? And sometimes they say yes, or they look up and go, cool. I go, and what is it about them? And it's interesting, they start to fall apart right in that moment, and I start trying to dig in more, and I was like, what is it about that boastful person you like so much? I want to understand that. And usually they're like, I don't like that. And then I pivot to Trump. I go, now with our president, he's that same way, don't you think? And they go, yeah. I say, but you like it there. And I'm trying to get them to get.
Well, I mean, and what you're describing there is the Socratic method. It's like a particular approach in philosophy, and I don't usually mention that I employ the Socratic method because I don't want people to think I'm a Philbro, even though I am reasonably educated about like classical philosophy.
You're largely educated about everything, I think. I'm not sure if you went to college, but you are very educated.
I tutored a lot of subjects when I was in college, and that's one of the things that I credit with getting a 4.0 is that it's easy to get a 4.0 if you just tutor every class you take because you don't lose any of the information.
Someone told me if you can, the best way to learn something is learn a little bit and then find someone dumb and explain it to them. And if you can get them to understand it, you know it.
Yeah, that's actually something I'm a lifelong educator. I've always had some sort of childcare teaching sort of thing going on, and yeah, it really helps. It really helps you understand something to meet a person who doesn't understand it and try to understand why they don't understand it, and then try to find the lock that fits the key that fits that lock to get them to understand. So I see the value. The Socratic method in particular is it allows a person to find their own reasoning towards something. Because you can, instead of saying, that's bullshit, that's illogical, I can maybe come up with a question that makes them realize that it was illogical without me having to accuse them of being illogical, which might get their emotions involved if they're accused of something. But we've got another caller, and so I think I'll let you go for the day. Thanks for hopping up.
Some other time I'll come up and we can talk Mac versus PC. I'd love to talk about it with you. Have a great day, Oscar. Love your show.
Have a good one, Monk. James, how old are you?
I'm 67, and I've talked to you before, and you should remember me because I can't speak very well.
Well, that is a lot of my guests. Are you a Trump supporter or are you a friendly?
You know I'm a Trump supporter.
Okay. What do you want to talk about today?
I'm just tired of what's going on with our country. I've been a Democrat my whole life, but I changed because I don't like what the Democrats are doing to our country. We voted Trump in, okay, and if you don't like him, you can vote him out. But we don't need to have this chaos in our country every day. That's all.
I mean, he can't run again, so voting him out is not really the option. We're talking about maybe potentially having a landslide win in the Senate, which would get him impeached, or get him convicted of an impeachment. We're almost certainly going to get him impeached by...
That's not going to happen.
...winning a majority in the House. I mean, you can just say it's not going to happen, but I think it's pretty unprecedented what's going on in America right now, and it's pretty difficult to predict polling outcomes.
I think it's 50-50. And I think we shouldn't be going against our country. He's the president of our country. And let's let him do his 2 more years, and we can vote him out. But do you like what's going on with California, with Minnesota, New York, New Jersey, all this? We don't have any of these problems in Florida. Everybody's happy in Florida.
Okay, I don't think I would agree about your assessment about what's going on in the states that you just listed. And there's a bunch of stuff that I don't like that he's doing that I think is so serious and egregiously illegal that he shouldn't continue to be president.
Well, right now, he's running a war. And he's trying to do things for America. You can't say he hasn't done anything for America, that he hasn't stuck up for America.
I think that across the board, on average, his effect on American people has been very bad.
Well, that's because the Democrats are making all these accusations that are false.
I don't think
And there's
most of those
plenty of
accusations
places-
are false.
Some of them are. Everybody. I don't know anybody that's 100% true to whatever they did. Not Clinton, not the Bushes, not Obama, nobody. But he's running the country. We voted him. Let's give him a chance because everything was doing good until we started this war. And if we get done with this war,
That's not
gas
true.
is already going.
Hold on. Things were not good when he started the war. There are economic indicators that came out from the first calendar year that Trump was president, 2025, that have shown that his economic policies aren't working. Inflation was increasing. The jobs reports were bad. The number of domestic manufacturers that were filing for bankruptcy.
That's not what they say.
You don't see that if you don't look for it, because whatever news you're watching that supports Donald Trump isn't going to show you those things. When the fact of the matter is that the outcomes for America.
I watched the stock channel, CNBC.
The stock channel doesn't actually give too much of a shit about these things because
And
the
is
stock
everybody's 401ks going up right now?
Well, it sounds counterintuitive, but the stock market affects the wealth of wealthy people who have healthy retirements, people who have a lot of holdings in companies. But when it comes to those indicators, inflation, unemployment, the number of domestic manufacturers that are filing for bankruptcy, those things aren't reflected in the stock market at all. So when you point to the stock market and say things are good,
what about regular people that have 401ks that are in the stock market and they're making
what
money?
you're not understanding is that regular people don't have very big 401ks.
They don't? I don't know. I know a lot of people that have 401ks and they're making
You're 68 and you live in Florida. Do you think that potentially you're biased about how many people around you have good 401ks?
I'm biased? No, well, I just know even people that don't have money, they're still supporting Trump. In Florida, they are.
Are you just assessing a general impression? You think that you've met enough?
I talk to people every day. I talk to people. I know friends from New York to here.
I do too. I literally sit here for 2 hours a day and talk to people, but I don't let that color what I think like the general impression
is if when you if they do a see, I'm trying to get the word I want to say and I can't get it to come out. Do you think there's less people on the red stage? They don't think that what's going on with Trump is good?
Sorry, say the question again. Got a little lost in the sauce.
We're a red state in Florida, right?
Yeah.
Like I said, most people I still feel that I talk to, right? And there's a lot of people that don't have a lot of money. And they're still supporting Trump because of the communist people that are in this country now, and the other people that that are in New York. Everybody's fighting in New York. What's going on?
Are you aware of what's happening with his approval ratings?
Yes, his approval rating is here and there and here and there, and then it depends on which.
That's not a fair way to look at it at all. They're going down.
The one I use, it's like 50-50 right now.
That's wrong. It's in the 30s according to everybody.
Okay.
I mean, maybe you might have.
One?
If somebody told you that it's
which thing? Because there's like 10 different ones that tell you different things.
Well,
I use Google.
Okay, Google doesn't keep track of polling data about approval ratings. Google shows you results from pollsters.
Okay.
I'm gonna find a graph that shows a bunch of them.
I know some of them. My brother does those, and then I found on Google's, and it says the same. It says 50-50. But like I said, if it's a red state, usually it's higher than 50-50. It's way higher for the Republicans.
Okay.
Do a Republican state and see what the numbers are.
I mean, I'm not super interested in looking at one particular state, but like if we look here, it's this bottom one. It's like it's even worse than I remember. I hadn't seen numbers in the 20s, but that's just because or no, it's not in the 20s. Sorry, I misread the graph, but it's minus 25, which that is that? I'm doing the math wrong. That's mid 30s. I was right. Again. The approval rating is very negative. What's your source?
I already told you where I get my source. And me and my friend did it right here, and we looked at it, and it says some people are over 50%, and then you do to these other things, CNN and all the ones that don't like Trump, that everybody's against Trump, you know. But unfortunately,
according to this source, it's negative 13 in Florida. It's not 50-50.
Okay. Well, I guess I only know 13% of the people that all still support Trump.
I mean, you're just judging by your like impression, and like I have a huge bias.
I talk to people. I go to Walmart. I go here. I go there, and everybody's still.
There are 350 million Americans. How many people do you think you'd have to meet at Walmart to be able to determine a reasonable assessment of what the approval is?
I talk to people in Long Island too. I travel all the time.
How many people do you think you need to talk to for your opinion to be better than the pollsters?
Like I said, some of the ones I look at
specific
are
question.
50.
There are 350 million Americans. How many of them do you think that you need to talk to?
And I already said to you, I'm not going to talk to anything about a Democrat because the Democrats are freaking crazy.
You're not answering my question. I'm trying to assess why you think that your impression of people's impression about Trump is a good one when the pollsters disagree with you, and you're just saying that you met people in Walmart and Long Island.
No, I didn't say here in Florida, right where I live.
Florida.
I talk to people.
How many?
I go to the golf course. I go
how
to
many?
the bowling
How many
alleys,
unique individuals do you think you've had a conversation about Trump with?
Hundreds.
Okay. Do you think that hundreds of people who live in Florida and Long Island
I go to my people in my whatchamacallit, my insurance people. Everybody I talk to, my friend that's a real estate guy. You know, they all see that.
My question is, do you think that hundreds of people is enough people for you to assess what the impression of Trump is for the country, which is made up of 350 million people?
Like I said, the things I saw were 50%. And then we have the Communist Party that's in our country now. We have the Muslims that are in our country.
You're just not answering my question.
I gave you my question. My question is the polls that I see are 50%. I understand you have some polls that are less. That's okay. That's not what I'm saying. My question was.
I'm going to try to find a poll.
Did we vote Donald Trump in?
When you Google Trump's approval rating,
I'm asking you a question.
No. We're going to stick on this thing that we haven't solved yet because you said there's a 50% approval for him in Florida, which I don't believe. What do you Google?
It's more than 50% for just Republicans.
What do I Google? You said you use Google. What do you Google when you check that?
Just Google. I don't know. Me and my friend did. Like I said,
I'm at Google. What do I search?
I had a friend to do this. Now he left and went back to New York. He's been here for 4 months.
What do I Google to find your approval rating information about Trump?
I couldn't tell you because he Googled it and he just read it to me because I can't. I told you I have problems with my speech. So he did it and he told me what it was.
Okay.
So I can't tell you the answer because he Googled it on his phone.
Okay, I'm actually getting information that from the AI overview that says that you're about right, that it's 50-50, but I don't trust the AI overview.
There you go. See? Well,
hold on. Wait. Let's see what it says. It says you can track up-to-date national numbers on the New York Times tracker. So the Google AI overview says to check this to get the most up-to-date information, and the most up-to-date information. I think this is a national thing, which just says below 38%. Let's see if we have Florida-specific data here. Here we go. Wait, that's the Senate polls, presidential approval. That's the page we're on, right? I want to have it by.
I don't know. I don't do that stuff. All I know is Like I said, since I've been a little kid, I was always a Democrat. I was a Democrat my whole life.
I want to teach you something. I want to teach you something about technology. I actually think we might be about to have a constructive moment on the show. Can I teach you something about technology?
Yes, go ahead.
This little blurb. Are you looking at the screen? Are you seeing what's happening when I Google here?
I would never even read that because I can't. It's so small. I can't. You don't understand. I had a stroke a year and a half, 2 years ago. I can't compute. I can't compute anymore.
I'm not asking you to read this right now. I'm just trying to explain something to you. So you don't have to read all the text. But when you Google something these days, like for example, if I just Google like the word apples, let's say, right? I get this little blurb at the top. See where it says AI overview right here? That's what that says. Okay, so this is a little bit like if you put a question into ChatGPT or something like that. This is a large language model just generating some text that has to do with apples. And then when you go farther down, you get more reasonable results, like the Wikipedia article for apples, or you can order apples on HelloFresh. These are the sorts of results you'd expect for searching apples.
That's not really what I wanted to talk about.
I know you don't want to talk about apples.
I know you're changing the.
I'm teaching you something about how Google works, and I'm using a silly, unimportant example, apples, to show you. What I'm showing you is that this blurb up here at the top, there's a big problem with how people look things up right now, which is that big tech companies like Google are very obsessed with selling AI technology and trying to make their apps easier to use. But there's this big problem where this blurb up at the top is very often completely fucking wrong. It just gets information
and we believe that too, because when we look at, we'll change the news channels, right? And we'll watch what CNN has and what this guy does. And because my friend's into this, I'm not. I just listen to him because
what I'm trying to convey to you is that a lot of people will take what it says in this blurb at face value when it is very often completely wrong, especially when it comes to up-to-date information. So we can actually look where it says that we're getting something reasonably close to 50%. But we can click on the source that it gives us. And when is this from? This is from...
And you never gave me a thing. We made one question. I asked you about the Republicans, and you never gave me the answer because you said you were going to look at it.
I'm trying to show you how to look these things up, and we're just getting...
I'm not going to look at it because I can't read or write anymore. They messed me up. I'm not the same person I was my whole life.
If you're not willing to look at it, I guess then there's no point.
I can't read. You know how hard it is for me to read? I can talk and text. That's what I can do. That's what my life is now.
I'm talking to you.
Yes, I can.
Your friend was talking. Your friend was talking to you when he showed you the research. I'm talking to you when I'm trying to explain how I look at the research, and you're just not listening to me.
I'm saying that I can't. When we get off the phone, I can't read. So I can't get my own read information. My friend read it to me.
I understand
and we both understood
I'm not asking you to do your own homework. I'm just informing you that people potentially like your friend are often badly misguided by this big problem we have in technology right now, where it's very hard for people who aren't super educated to get good answers to basic questions.
And yes, and my friend said that himself. He said the same thing. He says, when he looks at stuff, a lot of people, yes, we see that Trump is not on the right side right now. And then there's people, like we said, that said 50-50. And then if we go to the Republican polls, it's a little higher and stuff like that. But the problem with, I started from the beginning saying that from I was a little kid, since I'm 59 years, since I got born in 1959, right? I was always a Democrat, and I wasn't in politics and all that. I never even voted for a lot of years because, it didn't matter. But now it's getting more crucial because more and more people are voting, right? So, but the thing is, when I was a little kid, if I voted for the president, usually whoever I vote to becomes the president. Whether it was Bill Clinton, Bush, blah blah blah. I voted for Obama.
Sir, I have a question. How am I supposed to engage with you if you bring me evidence and information that your friend read to you, but I can't read you evidence and information?
No, I just told you my friend read it to me, but that was he's gone for a month now. He left here a month ago.
I understand that. You're talking to me and you weren't interested in the evidence.
Well, I told you what the thing we read, and at that point, that's what it was. But that's not my question. You keep going back to these other things, and that's not what I'm asking.
I'm trying to be accommodating of the fact that
accommodate this. What I said to you, when you vote a president in, people used to, if they voted, they said, okay, we lost. That's it. And now the Democrats are not doing that. They're not saying that Trump's give him a chance. They never gave him a chance since he's been in office. What happened to Charlie Sheen? What happened to him? He got killed. Is that a good thing for our country? No, it's not. That's my opinion.
I'm going to let James go. I've hung up on him, and it's because he refused to just answer the question I just asked, which is that I'm genuinely trying to be accommodating. One of the things that I do, I'm going to bring some friends up. I'm going to bring Diava and Raven into the call. One of the things I have to do on this show is assess the level of comprehension of the caller, and sometimes I'm like, all right, this is a super educated caller. I got to be quick and erudite. I got to get the burns out. I got to be witty. I got to be on the spot. I got to have my facts and my details ready to dunk on him, and then sometimes I have a caller like that where it's like, all right, I got some hand-holding to do. Let's talk about how we look at approval ratings or something like that. But if the caller's not willing to stay on one thing for longer than 2 seconds, if the caller's not willing to listen to what I say, but he's willing to listen to what his friend says, and then he's not willing to answer me asking a very direct question like, how am I supposed to talk to you if you trust your friend, but you won't listen to me read information to you, and he wants to start going on about Democrats from 10 years ago or something, it's not a constructive call. But I try my best. I try to be patient. How are you guys doing?
Hey, I didn't know Charlie Sheen died.
Did Charlie Sheen die?
No, he meant Charlie Kirk.
Did he? Oh, he said Charlie Sheen. Oh, okay.
I'm sorry. I
missed it.
I'm in Florida, and I just have to tell you.
Wait. Ask your neighbors. What's the approval rating? Go check. Ask 2 neighbors. If they disagree, then the caller was right. It's 50-50.
I am surrounded by no hate to the other boomers in here. If it doesn't apply, let it fly. But these boomers, they are very comfortable staying in their fucking ignorance. I'm sorry. My mom and dad are the exact same way. My mom and dad are exactly the same way. They don't want to know the truth. They don't care about the truth. They don't care about it. If they hear, like my dad will share every conspiracy theory known to man on a Facebook meme that can possibly be shared. Even the most outlandish stuff that no human being could possibly believe, my dad believes it. Yeah. They don't want to learn. They don't want to be told that they're wrong. They're incapable of being told that they're wrong, or of accepting that they're wrong.
Well, I mean, it was an interesting little. I just thought, all right, for one thing, Vicky paid me $3 on YouTube Super Chat to kick him, so he was going to get kicked anyway. Even though, Vicky, I'm not always going to kick somebody for $3, but I'll kick that guy for $3. But before so thank you for that. But before I kicked him, I just wanted to see, like, hey, am I able to just tell him, like, hey, just so you know, there's a problem with Googling where it throws you some bullshit at the top that might be very wrong, and a lot of people read that. I couldn't even get him to acknowledge that he understood that was happening, and that's a reason why people might believe some bullshit. He just couldn't comprehend that that's what I was trying to tell him. What the fuck am I to do with that? Like,
there's nothing you can do. It's the same thing. My mom will call me and say, I'm looking at this email and I need to save the PDF. I have showed her no less than 94 times how to save a PDF to her phone from an email. She just refuses to learn. And it is the most frustrating thing. And it's with any piece of technology, any type of research, any type of anything, they just flat out refuse to do it. He's like, she goes, I'll just let you do it every time. And that's incompetence. Yes, it's absolutely weaponized incompetence. And I think it's because they can't take criticism, number one, and number two, their children.
I'm sorry. I need to point out that the guy who was just on the phone is defending himself in the chat, which. Dude, I thought you couldn't read. I'm sorry, but like, what the fuck, dude? Like,
I was gonna say that next. He said he can only text. Well, if
I
you
will
can
say
text
there's
people,
voice
you can also
texting.
read.
I've spoken to the guy, and I really don't want to clown on him for whatever difficulties he has, but it does demonstrate to me that you're perhaps leveraging the fact that you have some incompetencies if you're willing to, if you're able to overcome them sometimes, but then you're just going to not even try to overcome them when it comes to my side of the argument. It makes it very, very difficult to have a conversation if you're just going to throw your hands up and say, I can't do it. There's a lot of people who've been told by their physical therapists that they can't, who tell their physical therapist that they can't walk, and the physical therapist has to say, yes, you fucking can. Come on, let's keep trying. And then it's years later that they get to walk over to that person and hug them and thank them for showing them the way. But they had to put some effort in to believe that they could fucking do it, to do the work and to figure it out. So you're just not going to learn if you just announce that you can't learn every time there's something to learn. So it's frustrating. Sorry. I try to be accommodating, but like,
I don't know who you said messed him up. He's like, they messed me up. Who?
He said he had a stroke. I don't know if he's blaming his stroke on the Democrats or what.
I didn't hear that part.
Yeah, if he had a stroke, that's serious. I want to be accommodating, but it's.
I agree. I agree because I do agree with that, but you can't use that as a crutch to be ignorant either. Or if so, don't join political lives.
Well, yeah. I mean, I'm willing to do hand holding, but you do have to let me try to show you what we're talking about. And he just kept moving on. Like too fast,
Also, a little comment about him. He says that Democrats are, bitching and whining about the election. What was J6?
Yeah, we forgot. That was too long ago. Nobody remembers, right?
10-second Tom. Yeah, they have very short memories. But also, you are not to stand behind a president when they're breaking the law, when they're violating the Constitution. That would be unpatriotic to support someone who's doing that, because our Constitution is the founding framework and the laws of our land. And if they're not going to obey the Constitution, it's unpatriotic to still support them.
Yeah. Thank you, Vicky, for another $3 over on YouTube Super Chat. They're just defending themselves. They said, it ain't what I mean. Don't want everyone and everyone gone. Yeah, I know it's just a suggestion if you send the kick. Nobody actually has the authority to kick except for me and occasionally the co-hosts. But I do take the donations into consideration.
But Oscar, if I went to each of my neighbors, I would probably get 50% for Trump too. I'm in fucking Florida. I'm not trying to be disrespectful to boomers. I told you if it doesn't apply, let it fly. Just what I talk about men and poorly behaved men. If you're not a poorly behaved man, hit dogs won't holler. So I'm not picking on boomers. I have many of my followers who are in that category who are very democratic, very smart, very intelligent, very technologically advanced. I said if it doesn't apply, let it fly.
Well, yeah, I mean, it's also like something that there's people who will come up with some category of people that I'm in, whether it's theater kids or protesters or whatever, and they'll just like say a bunch of shit where it's like, hey, if there's a legitimate complaint in here, I can like field it and be like, yes, protesters do sometimes do that, and I don't like that either, even if it's not something that I do. I can just be reasonable, but I mean, I think that comes from like security, right? Like I don't feel all that attacked when somebody says something about me that's not accurate, or says something about a group I'm in that's not all that accurate, just because I'm secure in who I am and what I'm about. So, it's just, it's like when people accuse me of being like gayer than I am, or whatever random thing I get accused of on the show, or it's just like, what does it matter? I don't care. Like, I don't care what you think about me. I don't care what anybody thinks about me. I care about what's true. I care about my arguments. I care about what's reasonable. And if there are some insults that get thrown along the way, like they either apply or they don't. So I like what you have to say about that, Diallo. If it doesn't apply, let it fly. Like, right? Like, just
because you make a general statement, there's always going to be exceptions, and it doesn't matter what group you're talking about. So if it's not you, and there's a saying for a reason that hit dogs holler. So
see, I'm getting accused of something I don't do in the chat right now. Hondo says you like blocking people when they tell you you're being disrespectful. I don't do that. I don't know what you're talking
Hondo's
about.
a big fat whiner. He says he's a veteran and that he defends Donald Trump. That's like his bio, the gist of his bio.
Oh, yeah. One of my mods muted you for spamming, apparently, but I don't actually watch the chat all that closely during the show because I got to run the show. So I don't know, dude. Yeah, spamming is against the rules. Like, if you really want a message to get to me, the chat is actually
He's
not the
not
place to
even
do it.
muted.
Well, he's not anymore. He probably got a 5-minute mute and it hurt his feelings. But I mean, it's a private platform. We do get to have rules to keep the show functional. As far as the rules we do use, me and the mod team, I think they're fairly reasonable. I think they're non-echo chambery. I think it's just that we don't allow people to send the same message repeated. We don't allow slurs, and we don't allow all caps, that one's kind of blurry. That one's discretionarily enforced because, like, obviously, if you just like say "wow" in all caps, that's not going to like piss off the mods too much. So I mean, there's all these accusations about. Well, it's a group thing, right? It's like people say that, all the debate hosts just like mute people all the time. The number of people who call in and say, you just mute me so you can talk over me. And I'm like, I don't use the mute button on my show. You don't know who you're talking to. Just, big feelings.
So, can I step in real quick? Since I'm on break, I kind of got to get back to work eventually. Want to make a callback to the person that was trying to talk to their father, the young person.
Mm-hmm.
One tactic that I've found is really effective in my personal life, since I'm a little bit nicer in my personal life than I am in this show sometimes, is really focus in on the core issues of like what, the emotional connection of like, what do you want to do? Do you want to keep taxes in your pocket? Well, then the Democrats are actually trying to keep taxes in your pocket. Tax money in your pocket. Do you care about, people's well-being? Well, then you should care about healthcare. Really just get specific about it. And another point being is that you should have two conversations. The first one being figuring out what they, care about. And then the second one is after you do some research and are able to bring actual results of how like Democrats voted and Republicans voted and how it's impactful towards those things that you care about. And that's my point.
That's a good additional strategy I didn't think of, because it happens a lot of time on this show where we like actually get down to a good faith component of the conversation where we talk about what would be best, and then I get to inform the caller, by the way, that is the policy that Kamala Harris was going to do, just so you know. You also came up with a reasonable way to fix this, and that's exactly not what Trump is doing. Sorry to inform you, but turns out you care about people, and so you should vote blue. That's a fun gotcha when it happens. I think I'm going to let you guys go to end the show, but I am going to pull the chat on something. Either of you have anything before you go?
No, that's it. Love you, chat.
Goodbye, Raven.
Anyway, just want to say thanks for letting me up for a moment. I do appreciate you. Have a good rest of your day, everybody.
All right. See you, Diava. Thanks for hopping up. All right, chat. We got a poll. Is the show over, or am I going to talk to RC? Because he's in the queue, and it's been a little while, and RC he's one of those callers that's so problematic most people have him banned, but I also kind of enjoy being the host that somebody says 10 minutes maxed. There aren't any yeses or nos in the chat. It's just like, oh God. Okay, somebody saying 6 minutes. All right, we'll see. Maybe I'll get paid to kick him. I don't know. All right. Is he going to connect even? He's been sitting in the queue for a while. I am, by the way. I'll take a moment while he's connecting to remind everybody they can go to Linktree in my bio if they want to support me by following me on the other platforms or donating some money, that sort of thing. Today is Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday this week. Tomorrow and the next day, the show is not happening at 10 a.m. Central Standard Time. It is going to happen at 1 p.m. Central Standard Time for 2 days. And then that will also be the case Monday through Thursday next week. And then after Thursday next week, my day job is officially quit. So I am off the schedule there. And then we can have a fun conversation about me giving up my job to do this show. Let's see. To Drive Me in the chat, who has a protest question, where's the best place to DM me? The best place to DM me is on Instagram. You'll get your message read faster there. I don't think YouTube even has messaging anymore, but I do read the TikTok inboxes, just not as quickly, because I have 3 TikTok accounts, so even this main account. RC's gone. He didn't connect. Is he going to try again? If that was just connection errors, he can... We even voted. Perfect Stranger says RC is a mega doink. Correct. I was kind of in the mood for one more cheeky debate though. Colin in the chat. Let's see if Colin is opposition. I'll take Colin's call if he's opposition, but otherwise I'm going to wrap for the day. Hello, are you old enough and opposition?
Definitely old enough, but I am a friendly.
I'll give you 10 seconds before I boot you. What's up?
I live in a conservative echo chamber. To the other caller, I've had some success talking to my parents about their beliefs as Christians, and just the need to view people as humans and have empathy. I don't know. That's a really short version of what I was going to talk about.
If only the bar weren't in hell, where just basic empathy was the goal, right?
Right.
Well, thanks for hopping up. All right, on that, because RC's not here. Got teased. had my butthole all puckered for his bad arguments. Anyway, we're gonna wrap the show for the day. So thanks everybody for hanging out. And once again, tomorrow and the next day, Wednesday and Thursday this week, the show will be in the afternoon instead of in the morning, and that will be the case Monday through Thursday next week. And then I will officially no longer have a day job. Goodbye, day job, and goodbye everybody on TikTok. That's this button. Goodbye. And yep, gotta click it twice. And goodbye everybody on YouTube.